Chapter 760. Leng Shiqi was stunned for a moment. He thought that Wu Xiang would at least be at the level of the 10 kings of hell. However, Wu Xiang had obtained the inheritance of the ghost emperors of 5 directions. This was something that Leng Shiqi did not expect. However, this was still a good thing. Wu Xiang had obtained the inheritance of the ghost emperors of 5 directions, so his strength would naturally increase by leaps and bounds. This was also beneficial to Leng Shiqi. While Wu Xiang was obtaining the inheritance, he went straight to the end of Fengdu Necropolis. Here he found the requirements to upgrade the territory. Mansion of the Dead current level, Tier 4. Mansion of the Dead upgrade requirements. 1. Recruit one of the 10 kings of hell, 1/10. 2. Collect 10 high-level souls, 10/10. 3. 80,000 system coins. Upgrade requirements met. Do you want to upgrade? No. Leng Shiqi was not in a hurry to upgrade the Mansion of the Dead. Once it was upgraded, the Mansion of the Dead would automatically close. At the very least, he had to wait until Wu Xiang finished receiving the inheritance. The last time the Mansion of the Dead was upgraded, it took 10 days. This time it would take even longer. If it was in the past, Leng Shiqi could only wait slowly. However, there was a better way now. Leng Shiqi opened the system shop and chose an item, Basic Territory Upgrade Card. This was an item that he was qualified to buy after obtaining all the system privileges. It could be used to shorten the time needed to upgrade the territory. Each Basic Territory Upgrade card could shorten the time needed to upgrade by 10 days. When it was time to upgrade, he just needed to buy a certain number of upgrade cards, and he could upgrade the Mansion of the Dead directly. Leng Shiqi then went to Wu Xiang's side. He estimated that it would not take long for Wu Xiang to receive the inheritance. Those who could break through to the ethereal stage definitely had high comprehension. The higher the comprehension, the faster the speed of receiving the inheritance. He stood beside Wu Xiang. After about half an hour, the ghostly aura around Wu Xiang suddenly dissipated, revealing Wu Xiang's body. However, Wu Xiang's current state was a little strange. He was clearly standing there, but in Leng Shiqi's eyes, Wu Xiang felt illusory. It was as if he did not exist in this space. With a flip of Wu Xiang's palm, the spiritual energy in the underworld suddenly erupted, and a terrifying aura suddenly appeared. This aura was like sword intent, saber intent, fist energy, palm energy, finger energy. Leng Shiqi's expression was solemn. He seemed to have felt the all-encompassing power in Wu Xiang's hand. The aura of Formless was illusory and all-encompassing. This strange feeling made Leng Shiqi very uncomfortable. Wu Xiang's heart was filled with shock. He did not conceal his astonishment and said, "Disciple, how did you discover this secret realm? Too mysterious, too powerful, too bizarre." Leng Shiqi could not explain the origin of the underworld, so he changed the topic. "Shizhuan, what kind of inheritance did you receive? Is it a cultivation technique?" "No, it's not a cultivation technique." Wu Xiang shook his head and said, "I can't say for sure. Those things were directly imprinted in my mind, as if I already knew them. To be specific, it's a bit like the sword steels in the Sword Dao Mountain." The sword steels of the Sword Dao Mountain. Leng Shiqi had some understanding of this. The Sword Path Mountain was one of the top sects in the 8 Desolates weapon path, and it was located in the Starfall dynasty. This sect was very strange because the Sword Path Mountain was a sword cultivation sect. They only had the inheritance of mental cultivation techniques, but they didn't have any inheritance of sword skills. A top sect that nurtured sword cultivators did not have any sword skills. It sounded unbelievable. There were thousands of sword steels in the Sword Dao Mountain. Each sword steel had a sword mark on it. These sword marks were left behind by the Heaven Origin Stage cultivators of the Sword Dao Mountain. They contain the cultivators' understanding of the Sword Dao. The disciples of the Sword Dao Mountain only learned mental cultivation techniques. If you wanted sword skills, no one would teach you. You could only rely on yourself to comprehend the sword steels and comprehend a sword skill that was suitable for you. Only the Sword Dao Mountain had this method of nurturing disciples in the world, so the strength of the Sword Dao Mountain was fluctuating. Sometimes, there would be several peerless geniuses in the same generation. For example, hundreds of years ago, the Sword Dao Mountain had 5 great sword masters who shocked the world. They were ranked second only to the 4 saint spiritual realms in the world. However, sometimes there might be no genius disciples for several generations, leading to a slow decline. However, the Sword Dao Mountain had never fallen out of the world's sect rankings. It was obvious that their foundation was extremely deep. Wu Xiang actually said that the inheritance he obtained was similar to the sword steals of the Sword Dao Mountain. In other words, the inheritance of the underworld did not directly give him a cultivation technique or spiritual skill. He still had to comprehend it himself. As for what he could comprehend, it would depend on his own ability. Leng Shiqi understood in his heart. Although he had yet to obtain the underworld's inheritance, knowing this gave him a little more confidence. Wu Xiang then threw a jade slip over and said, "This mystic realm is yours. The inheritance is also from you. This is not a small favor. In addition, although I am your master, I have not taught you anything. This jade slip contains my life's knowledge and my experience of breaking through to the heavenly origin realm. Your path is similar to mine, so it should be useful." Leng Shiqi did not stand on ceremony and directly took a few glances. This was something he had always wanted. He casually glanced at it and discovered that the method for Wu Xiang to break through to the heavenly origin realm was actually the returning ruins. Wu Xiang and Leng Shiqi's cultivation path was indeed quite similar. They both learned a variety of things and dabbled in all kinds of spiritual skills. There were very few people who walked this path. After all, everyone understood the principle of being greedy and not proficient. Furthermore, this type of spirit cultivator was very strong in the same realm, but breaking through to the next realm was extremely difficult. The further one went, the more difficult it was. Wu Xiang could also be considered to be extremely talented. Now he no longer knew any sword or blade techniques. He had already classified all his moves and spiritual techniques into a special kind of power. This power was all-encompassing and impossible to fathom. Leng Shiqi muttered to himself for a moment. In fact, there was one heavenly origin realm expert who walked this path. And that was Li Ju Cheng's ancestor. He cultivated the Li family's ancestor's 16 heavens transformations. The Li family's ancestor also learned everything. His method of breaking through to the heavenly origin realm was to use every spiritual skill to the extreme. This was completely different from Wu Xiang's method, but it was still a success. Therefore, everyone's path was different. Leng Shiqi would also walk a path that was completely his own. Leng Shiqi put down the jade scroll. "Master, we have been here for a long time. Let's go out first." "All right, let's go." After the two of them went out, they chatted for a while. Wu Xiang even specifically told Leng Shiqi to wait until the end of the first Spirit Cultivator Conference. After sending Wu Xiang off, Leng Shiqi turned around and returned to the underworld. He opened the territory system and chose to upgrade territory. Upgrading the territory requires 100 natural days. During the upgrade period, you will not be able to use the territory. Do you want to upgrade? Leng Shiqi smiled and immediately exchanged 10 beginner-level territory upgrade cards and chose yes. Chapter 761. Primary Territory Upgrade Card detected. Upgrading the territory requires no time. Do you wish to upgrade? Yes. As soon as Leng Shiqi's voice fell, the entire underworld shook and black gas billowed. He spread out his spiritual power and instantly discovered that the area of the underworld was rapidly expanding. The original buildings were also expanding proportionally. The most peculiar thing was that the entrance to the 6 paths of reincarnation had separated itself from the Fengdu necropolis and opened up a unique small space. The most noteworthy thing was that small spaces had appeared in the newly expanded area of the underworld, layer upon layer leading to the underground. A name was imprinted in Leng Shiqi's mind. 18 levels of hell. Leng Shiqi was deep in the underworld. The surrounding time seemed to have sped up countless times. Everything was changing at an unimaginable speed. Soon, the movements in the underworld suddenly stopped. He immediately saw a system prompt. Territory upgrade successful. Leng Shiqi immediately looked through the territory system. In the past, he would obtain some abilities every time the underworld was upgraded. After the last upgrade, he could move freely in the underworld. He also had the convenient ability of the Netherlamp illusion. This time he obtained the ability of the Underworld's Gate. Leng Shiqi's eyes lit up. This Gate of the Underworld could finally directly increase his combat power. The Gate of the Underworld had two uses. One was to allow Leng Shiqi to use a portion of the Underworld's power, which could be considered as a means to increase his combat power. The second was to summon the Gate of the Underworld. When the Gate of the Underworld appeared, the Gate of Hell opened, and the surrounding hundreds of miles would become hell. According to the rank of spiritual skills, the Gate of the Underworld was definitely comparable to a rank 8 spiritual skill, or even higher. This time, the Underworld's upgrade finally had the ability to fight. This surprised Leng Shiqi. Moreover, the Gate of the Underworld was a new ability he had obtained. It could be used in his new identity as the disciple of the Wave Sword Monarch. With his swordsmanship alone, he could at most survive the next round of the World First Spiritual Cultivator Conference. If he could use the power of the Underworld, it would naturally be very different. There was still a chance for him to enter the Flying Dragon list. However, there was no way such extreme energy could have come from the Wave Islet Sword Monarch's inheritance. It would be hard to say if someone were to look into it. However, it didn't matter. His participation in the world's first Spirit Cultivator Conference was just a spur-of-the-moment decision. At worst, he could just make this identity disappear in the future. Following that, he circled around the underworld and found that the souls were no longer directly sent into the 6 paths of reincarnation. Some of them would be sent into the 18 levels of hell, where they would be subjected to endless torture before they had a chance to reincarnate. This was to pay for the sins of his past life. Finally, Leng Shiqi looked at the conditions for the next upgrade of the Mansion of the Dead. Underworld Territory's current level, Tier 5. Requirements for upgrading the territory of the Underworld. 1. Recruiting 2 Yama Kings of the 10 Palaces. 2. Collect a top-level soul, 0 out of 1. 3160000 system coins. Seeing these 3 conditions, Leng Shiqi felt a headache coming on. First of all, the first condition was for him to summon 2 Yama Kings of the 10 Palaces, or even higher-ranked members of the Underworld. Wu Xiang was already like a blind cat running into a dead mouse. Where was he going to find 2 more? Just this condition alone would be enough to hold him back for a long time. And the second condition was to collect a top-level soul. What was a top-level soul? One must know that the soul of an expert in the unity of heaven and man realm was only a high-level soul. A top-level soul could only be the soul of an expert in the heavenly origin realm. Leng Shiqi believed that his strength was not much weaker than an expert in the heavenly origin realm. However, it was still extremely difficult to kill an expert in the heavenly origin realm. At this moment, Leng Shiqi could not help but think of the Thousand Illusion Swordmaster. If he had died a little later, wouldn't he have gotten this top-level soul? As for the third condition, it was not a big deal. With his current status, 160,000 system coins was not a big problem. However, it would be a long time before the next upgrade of the Mansion of the Dead. Since that was the case, Leng Shiqi was not in a hurry. He collected his emotions and left the Mansion of the Dead to return to the Dark Thunder Guard's headquarters. Fortunately, his doppelganger was not detected and a report was placed in his study. After a day of competition, half of the participants in each realm were eliminated. This caused quite a stir in the outside world. This was because there were indeed some people who were unexpectedly eliminated. There were even a few people who were thought to be able to compete for a place in the dragon rankings who were eliminated. It could not be helped. The participants were randomly selected. It was not impossible for 2 experts of the same realm to meet each other in advance. When the results came out, it became a hot topic before tea and dinner. After the first round of competition, the people who participated in the gambling were naturally happy and sad. The imperial capital was now more lively than 2 days ago. Leng Shiqi also saw information about himself in the report. The Dark Thunder Guards thought that it was necessary to investigate his background. They even sent people out to sea to find information about the Wave Islet Sword Monarch. Leng Shiqi did not know whether to laugh or cry. It was not good for his subordinates to be too hardworking and capable. He silently checked this report. Of course, it was impossible to investigate. There was nothing else worth paying attention to. He closed his eyes and rested. After 2 days, Leng Shiqi and the others came to the minor 5 elements chaos paradise again. This time, the number of people was reduced by half. After today, it would be reduced by half again. Most of the people who could come here again were great experts at the unity of heaven and man realm. Any one of them was an existence that people looked up to. There were only a few people who could definitely obtain a place in the Flying Dragon rankings. As for the remaining people, the difference in strength was not very big. It would depend on whether they were willing to use their trump cards. There were about 4 people who were recognized by everyone to be in the Flying Dragon rankings. They were Wei Zhen from the Six Directions spiritual region. He was one of the personal disciples of the Six Directions spiritual sovereign. Ever since he participated in the first Spirit Cultivator Conference, he had easily defeated all the opponents. No one could force him to use his true strength. In the eyes of others, he was most likely to obtain first place in the Flying Dragon rankings. There was also Cui Linglong from the mysterious 10,000 Laws sect. She was a rare beauty and the most outstanding disciple of the previous generation. She was also one of the candidates for the next sect master. It was worth mentioning that she had also signed up for the Phoenix Dance ranking selection. Her popularity was quite high. In addition, Hua Feiyuan, an expert from the 5 levels sect, Liuhua Palace, was also very strong. He had the heaven-scorching poison fire, a variant of the fire element. No one dared to take it head-on. As for the last person, he was a devil cultivator from the Purgatory Demon sect. No one knew his name, only his title, Black Devil Hand. Those who lost to him were all seriously injured. If it was not for the fact that there were people watching, they would have died. These 4 people were top-notch in terms of status and strength. They had taken 4 places in the Flying Dragon rankings by default. Chapter 762. Therefore, only 32 out of the 36 spots on the Flying Dragon list were actually being fought for. Leng Shiqi's appearance attracted some attention, but it was just a casual glance. Although his victory was unexpected, his opponents in this round were all stronger than the previous one. In the eyes of others, this was the end of his journey. It was already very impressive for a mid-stage union of heaven and man to make it this far. Leng Shiqi did not care about other people's gazes. He narrowed his eyes and waited for his opponent. Not long after, Heavenly Venerable Black Flame and Monarch Cloud Shuttle appeared. They were ready to start without saying a word. Immediately, 20 names appeared in each of the 10 regions. This time, Leng Shiqi's name was not on the list. However, a noteworthy name appeared. It was Black Devil Hand from the Purgatory Demon sect. This was an expert who was qualified to fight for the top spot on the Flying Dragon list. He instantly attracted everyone's attention. His opponent was Yun Liangji, the sect master of the first-rate sect Cloud Peak. He was at the peak of union of heaven and man, and was not weak. However, he encountered Black Devil Hand one after another. He shook his head and could only blame himself for being unlucky. Even Yun Liangji himself thought that he could not defeat Black Devil Hand. Of course, he would not admit defeat. Even if he lost, he had to lose with dignity. He cupped his fists and said, "I'm Yun Liangji, the sect master of the Cloud Peak sect. I heard that you have a high cultivation. I'd like to see it for myself." Black Devil Hand's face darkened. He sneered and said, "You will see it for yourself." Yun Liangji's expression turned cold. He waved his arms and misty clouds surged in the surroundings. They covered the sky and made the minor 5 elements chaos paradise look like a fairyland. A strange weapon was held in his hand. It seemed to have merged with the clouds, making it difficult for others to grasp. A trace of disdain flashed across Black Devil Hand's eyes. He grabbed with his hand as if he was going to tear the sky and shatter the stars. Countless elemental forces began to go berserk. There was even a trace of origin energy of heaven and earth. Yun Liangji was shocked. He could not resist Black Devil Hand's demonic palm at all. As the demonic palm approached, the surrounding clouds and mist were swept away in an instant. Yun Liangji's face turned red and his blood rushed to his head. His body flew backward, and the odd-shaped weapon in his hand cracked and almost broke. Yun Liangji was defeated by the Black Devil Hand in one move. Everyone's expression suddenly changed. They had seen the Black Demon Hand fight before, and he had defeated his opponent in one move. However, Yunliangji was not a small character. He could be considered a powerhouse, but in front of the Black Devil hand, he was unable to withstand a single blow. The strength of the Black Devil hand is so terrifying. He seems to have touched the edge of the Sky Origin stage. It won't be long before the Purgatory Demon sect has another Sky Origin cultivator. That way Chu, Yu Linglong and Huofei Yuan are probably not weaker than the Black Demon hand. These people can be considered to be half a step into the Sky Origin stage. Why are they participating in the first Spirit Cultivator Assembly, instead of going into seclusion to break through to the Sky Origin stage? Even if they break through to the Sky Origin stage, they are still at the bottom of the Sky Origin stage. They can't be as impressive in front of us as they are now. That's true. Now that the Flying Dragon leaderboard is within their reach, they can forget about the Divine Dragon leaderboard. It's better to be the head of a chicken than the tail of a phoenix. The Black Demon hand defeated Yunliangji, who was at the pinnacle of the unity of heaven and man realm. In one move, naturally attracted the shock and discussion of the crowd. Leng Shiqi could not help but be a little surprised. They were both at the unity of heaven and man realm, but the difference in strength was too great. The strength of the 4 Dark Thunder Guards was probably not comparable to the Black Demon hand. At the same time, Leng Shiqi was calculating in his heart. If he used his full strength, would he be able to defeat the Black Demon hand? He had many trump cards, but the Black Demon hand definitely had them too. He really wanted to find an opponent of this level to fight. Soon his opportunity came. It was his turn in the next round. However, his opponent was not at the level of the Black Demon hand, but an old acquaintance, Huang Xiwan from the first-class sect of Donglin County, Wuzhu. When Huang Xiwan saw that his opponent was Leng Shiqi, he secretly smiled. He knew that Leng Shiqi was not weak, but he had only reached the pinnacle of the unity of heaven and man realm. Moreover, when they fought in Donglin County, Leng Shiqi was no match for Tang Haoquang. Naturally, he could not defeat Huang Xiwan. Huang Xiwan secretly sighed. My luck is good. He walked to an empty space, looked at Leng Shiqi in the distance and said, Young friend Leng, last time in Donglin County, you and I were deeply regretful that we could not fight. This time, I finally got what I wanted. Leng Shiqi smiled. Master Huang, you're a master of both sword and saber. Please show mercy. Huang Xiwan grasped the void, and a 7th-level spiritual sword appeared in his hand. When the sword came out, a strange wave was suddenly emitted. The sword shadow was like the moon, attacking the sky. Leng Shiqi's mind moved, and countless sword chi burst out from the sky and the ground. Some of these sword chi were fierce and violent. Some were soft like water, some were like maggots, and some were hidden in the dark, waiting for an opportunity. Hundreds and thousands of different sword chi directly shattered Huang Xiwan's sword shadow. Huang Xiwan exclaimed softly. He found that Leng Shiqi's sword chi was stronger than the last time in Donglin County. It was not that there were more of them, but that the sword intent in the sword chi was sharper and more changeable. This obvious improvement made Huang Xiwan feel a little suffocated. When one reached the realm of the unity of heaven and man realm, both the progress of cultivation and the improvement of combat effectiveness were very slow. For example, Huang Xiwan's 5 sword moves and 5 saber moves were famous in Donglin County, but it was extremely difficult for him to comprehend another sword move. In other words, there was almost no way for him to improve his strength, and it was very difficult for him to go further. However, Leng Shiqi's sword chi was clearly much stronger. It had not been long, and there was such an obvious improvement, which made Huang Xiwan envious. This made Huang Xiwan want to defeat Leng Shiqi with absolute strength, so that he could feel better. He immediately said, Young friend Leng, I know you have mastered the water and earth sword moves and the magical sword skills of sword immortals and sword gods, but it is not enough to defeat me. You and I are acquaintances, so there is no need for a long battle. Why don't we decide the outcome with one move? All right. Leng Shiqi smiled, revealing his white teeth. Huang Xiwan held a 7th-tier saber on both sides, and the saber and the sword struck out at the same time. A dazzling light flashed, like the sun and the moon shining together, illuminating the entire minor 5 elements Chaos Grotto heaven. The imposing manner that bordered the world made everyone look askance. Lung Shiqi did not strike out with his sword. Suddenly, a black chi rose behind him, and an aura that seemed to come from the netherworld spread out, making the experts of the unity of heaven and man realm feel a chill down their spines. Then in the black chi, a ghost gate that was hundreds of feet tall loomed, like the opening of the gate of hell. The minor five elements chaos grotto heaven was instantly filled with a cold wind and the howling of ghosts. The gate of hell. Chapter 763. The other masters immediately frowned. The gate of the underworld summoned by Lung Shiqi was too gloomy, making people feel as if they were in hell. Even these masters who were in the oneness of heaven and man realm felt a chill run down their spines. Huang Xiuan's hands, which were holding the sword and saber, even trembled slightly. He was not shocked by the power of the gate of the underworld, but by the terrifying aura that struck directly at his soul. That was the aura of death. Anyone would be afraid when facing death, but Huang Xiuan actually felt the aura of death from the gate of the underworld. Lung Shiqi formed a sword with his fingers, and a shocking sword essence suddenly appeared. The sword immortal phantom stepped out with a sword, and suddenly the void froze, as if time had stopped. Then Lung Shiqi's soul merged into the sword immortal phantom. The three of heaven, man, and God became one, and the sword broke the world. The first move of the sword god. At the same time, the gate of the underworld continued to surge out of the gate of the underworld. The sword immortal phantom was also stained with a layer of black gas, becoming half black and half white, like a demon god. Lung Shiqi mobilized the power of the gate of the underworld on the basis of the first move of the sword god. The pure sword essence merged with the underworld's power. This was the ghost god's sword. Huang Xiuan was really shocked this time. He had seen Lung Shiqi's first move of the sword god. Back then, he had used this move to force Tang Haoquang to see this ability. But now the first move of the sword god had transformed into the ghost god's sword. It was completely without words, and its power had multiplied. This suddenly increased the pressure on Huang Xiuan, because he was not confident that he could withstand this sword. He, who had just said that he would win in one move, now began to hate himself for talking nonsense. But now he could not back down. It was still unknown who would win. Huang Xiuan's saber and sword came out together. The saber was like a brilliant sun that shone through the ages, and the sword was like a falling moon that cut through the past and present. The saber and sword had the power of the sun and the moon. This was Huang Xiuan's strongest saber and sword. Back then he had defeated the master of the Mountain Sea sect, Chongfengyu, with this move, so he still had some confidence in his heart. However, in the next moment, his confidence was instantly destroyed. The ghost god sword and the sun and moon saber sword collided violently. Everyone thought that this would be a fierce collision, but the result was that before the two could even get close, the luminous sun and flying moon was contaminated by the endless netherworld chi. In the blink of an eye, half of the luminous sun and flying moon was corroded, and its spirituality was greatly damaged. On the other hand, Lung Shiqi's sword of demons and gods was even more powerful. In an instant, the sword of demons and gods could cut through the sun and shatter the moon. Not only that, but the ghost god's sword continued slashing at Huang Xiuan. The sword intent that was filled with ghostly aura was like the descent of the Grim Reaper, about to reap Huang Xiuan's life. A trace of blood flowed from the corner of Huang Xiuan's mouth. His heart was in turmoil, but his mind was clear. He immediately shouted, "Stop, I admit defeat." Before he could finish his sentence, wisps of black flames appeared. Those flames looked extremely weak, but each wisp contained the essence of heaven and earth. Under the black flames, Lung Shiqi's demon god sword evaporated like snow under the sun. The one who attacked was naturally heavenly venerable black flame. Lung Shiqi waved his hand and summoned back the gate of the underworld. He cupped his hands at heavenly venerable black flame and left. He knew that the more he spoke, the more likely he would make mistakes. It was better not to speak. Heavenly venerable black flame stared at Lung Shiqi for a while. No one knew what he was thinking. At this moment, Monarch Cloud Shuttle sent a voice transmission. "Black Flame, you seem to care a lot about this Lung Shiqi. He looks a little familiar. Moreover, this person's strength far exceeds his cultivation level. He is worth paying attention to." Just now, Yungliangji's cultivation technique was somewhat similar to yours. Didn't you care a lot about it? Haha, coincidence, it's just a coincidence. As for the others, they could not help but exclaim. This Leng Shiqi defeated Meng Xian in one move last time. I thought that was his limit. I didn't expect him to be so strong. He is indeed strong. That Huang Xiwan is at the peak of the unity of heaven and man realm. He is also an expert who has the qualifications to be ranked on the Flying Dragon list. In the end, he was still defeated by Leng Shiqi in 2 moves. I think that Huang Xiwan is a bit too arrogant. If he had fought steadily, with his strength and battle experience, he might have been able to win. But he insisted on playing with 1 move to determine the outcome. In the end, he played himself into it. I am very curious about the origins of Leng Shiqi. It is said that he is the disciple of the heavenly origin stage expert, Sword King Lang Yu. But that ghastly thing just now was obviously not the inheritance of the Sword King Lang Yu. This time, it's quite mysterious. To be honest, I feel that he has something to do with the Netherworld Temple. The moment the words Netherworld Temple were spoken, the entire place immediately fell silent. In this continent, the most mysterious and powerful forces were the Yin and Yang halls. It was rumored that these 2 forces were even stronger than the 3 great imperial dynasties. However, their whereabouts were too secretive, and a large number of spirit cultivators had never seen the Yin and Yang halls in their entire lives. However, the people gathered here were all the upper echelons of the various large forces, and they had more or less heard of the Yin and Yang halls. Among them, the Netherworld Temple seemed to cultivate the power of the Netherworld. They then thought of Leng Shiqi's age, cultivation, and strength. If there was any force that could nurture such a genius, it would probably be the Netherworld Temple. With that said, the more everyone thought about it, the more they felt that it was possible. In the end, Leng Shiqi was already labeled as a member of the Netherworld Temple. After Leng Shiqi stood up, there were people who came over to talk to him. Their words seemed to be testing his identity, but Leng Shiqi's words seemed simple, but in reality, they were watertight, and no one could see through him. This way, he became even more mysterious in everyone's hearts. Huang Xiwan's old face was flushed red. Before the battle, he thought that he was very lucky. Who would have thought that he would lose to a junior? At the same time, a knot appeared in his heart, and that was whether Leng Shiqi had deliberately held back his strength when he was in Donglin County. If Leng Shiqi had deliberately admitted defeat when he fought with Tang Haoquang, it meant that Leng Shiqi had the strength to defeat Tang Haoquang at that time. It meant that Leng Shiqi was not only talented, but also scheming enough. If Leng Shiqi had not held back his strength at that time, it meant that Leng Shiqi's strength had increased by a large margin from Donglin County until now. But how was that possible? Huang Xiwan would rather believe that it was the first possibility than believe that a man in the oneness of heaven and men realm could advance by leaps and bounds in just a few months. Huang Xiwan forcefully suppressed the complicated emotions in his heart. He tried his best to make himself look normal as he walked to Leng Shiqi's side and asked, "Brother Leng, I've always been a straightforward person. I accept my defeat wholeheartedly, but please answer me honestly. When did you master the move that defeated me just now?" Leng Shiqi scratched his head and replied, "Oh, I just comprehended it when I watched the Black Devil hand fight." Huang Xiwan spat out a mouthful of blood. Chapter 764. Leng Shiqi's words almost caused Huang Xiwan to faint. Huang Xiwan did not know whether Leng Shiqi was telling the truth or not, but he really did not have the face to continue staying here, so he simply waved his sleeves and left. There was no lack of spiritual mages among the experts present. Cui Linglong, who was recognized as the strongest spiritual mage, was a little surprised at this moment. She thought to herself, "Did I see wrongly? Leng Shiqi's mental strength seems to be higher than mine." Leng Shiqi did not know what others were thinking. His own mood was fluctuating because even he did not expect the power of the gate of the underworld to be so great. This was the first time the power of the underworld had appeared in this world. It could also be said that this power did not belong to this world. Perhaps it was because of this that it was so terrifying. Not only that, when Leng Shiqi fought with Huang Xiwan, he did not completely use the power of the gate of the underworld. The power of the gate of the underworld was actually determined by the number of souls collected in the underworld and the quality of the souls. However, Leng Shiqi did not summon the thousands of souls in the underworld. Otherwise, it was unknown whether Huang Xiuan could survive. The gate of the underworld had significantly improved Leng Shiqi's strength. Now, if he were to fight with the 4 experts of the Black Devil Hand, he was quite confident. After this round of battle, half of the people were eliminated. There were only 44 experts left. There were 36 positions in the Flying Dragon list, so there were still 8 people present who would not be able to enter the Flying Dragon list. Since they had already come this far, naturally no one was willing to give up. The opportunity to become famous in the world was close at hand. It was worth mentioning that except for Leng Shiqi, everyone else was at the peak of the unity of heaven and man realm. Leng Shiqi was the only exception. His existence was no longer a dispensable character. The ghostly sword he used to defeat Huang Xiuan was somewhat shocking. Not all the experts present were confident that they could withstand it. No one dared to be careless when fighting against him. From the looks of it, Leng Shiqi had become a powerful opponent for the Flying Dragon list. Empyrean He Yin descended from the sky. Everyone is only one step away from the Flying Dragon list. According to the rules, there will be another competition. The 22 victors will directly enter the Flying Dragon list and have the right to be exempted from challenges. As for the losers, they were not eliminated. You still had a chance, and that was to take turns fighting. The 14 people who won the most matches would also be able to enter the Flying Dragon list. When all 30 spots on the Flying Dragon leaderboard were filled, there would be a ranking battle. Those who were ranked lower could challenge those who were ranked higher, but the 22 who won at the beginning had the right to refuse once. If many people challenged the same person at the same time, then the challenged person had the right to choose his opponent. This will determine your final ranking and then make it public. Empyrean Black Flame stated the following rules. Hearing this, everyone's hearts calmed down. Even if they lost once, they still had a chance. Naturally, their hopes were much greater. The 10,000 Laws Sex Chui Linglong covered her mouth and smiled. She asked, "Dare I ask, Heavenly Venerable Black Flame, when is the next battle?" Heavenly Venerable Black Flame only said 2 words. Now. Now. Everyone was stunned. The last time the battle ended was 2 days ago. Why was it so urgent this time? Moreover, everyone had just fought, and some of them had even suffered minor injuries. If they continued to fight in this state, they would definitely be at a disadvantage. Immediately, many people showed their dissatisfaction. Monarch Cloud Shuttle said, "To have your current cultivation and achievements, you must have experienced countless life and death tribulations. No danger can make you ready to deal with it. I don't think you can't even deal with this small difficulty. Moreover, we have prepared high-grade spirit pills that can help you recover to your peak state." That's right. Heavenly Venerable Black Flame continued. Moreover, you are only competing, not fighting to the death. There is no need for this, and it won't affect you much. The 2 Sky Origin Stage cultivators, who were also the Dark Thunder Guards and the Discipline Commission's commander, had said so. Although the crowd was dissatisfied, they didn't dare to offend the 2 bosses, so they all nodded in agreement. Of course, this rule was arranged by Leng Shiqi. The reason why he did this was that he didn't want the candidates of the Flying Dragon list to cause trouble. Among the 44 people, to be honest, none of them would be eliminated. However, in fact, some of them would be eliminated. In the end, it was hard to say who would miss the Flying Dragon list. If there was time, these people might take a good rest and prepare for the next battle. However, the people who came with them might not be so obedient. Maybe someone would cause trouble because of this. Not only the Flying Dragon list, but also the Hidden Dragon list and the Wandering Dragon list. Leng Shiqi decided to decide the final candidates in one go, so as to avoid unnecessary trouble. The cultivators in the small chaos paradise accepted this rule. Heavenly Venerable Black Flame waved his hand, and names appeared in the battle area again. Leng Shiqi looked at the names and his mouth twitched. His opponent this time was Chui Linglong from the wonderful sect of Thousand Arts. A cultivator who was half a step away from the Sky Origin stage, the most popular candidate for the first place of the Flying Dragon list. Cui Linglong was not as cold as He Mo's Ho. She looked at Leng Shiqi, licked her lips and said, "Little brother, it is you. I am very interested in you." Leng Shiqi didn't know whether he was lucky or not. He did want to fight against Cui Linglong, but he used his full strength, not the identity of the Wave Island Sword King's disciple. Now as he wished he met Cui Linglong. However, even with the help of the Gate of the Underworld, he couldn't defeat Cui Linglong. Leng Shiqi touched his chin and suddenly had an idea. He smiled and said, "It is not impossible to defeat her." Then he raised his head and said, "Unfortunately, I am also interested in you." Cui Linglong's eyes were full of smiles. "You little naughty boy. Come, let's have a good talk." Then she stretched out her little finger and hooked it at Leng Shiqi. Suddenly, a series of dry coughs could be heard from the side. It was supposed to be a proper competition, but why was the atmosphere so strange in front of the two of them? Cui Linglong's beauty could be considered to be very beautiful. Otherwise, she wouldn't have participated in the Phoenix dance ranking. However, everyone present was old, and had seen all kinds of beauties. Besides, they all knew very well that Cui Linglong looked to be in her 30s. She was mature and charming, but in fact, she was already in her 70s or 80s. They were not interested in the old woman. Someone secretly transmitted a message. Cui Linglong can't be an old cow eating young grass, right? No, it should be an old cow eating a young cow. Maybe that kid likes this kind of food. Chapter 765. Leng Shiqi did not know what others were thinking. He looked relaxed on the surface, but he had already adjusted himself to the best state, and was ready to fight Cui Linglong. Cui Linglong smiled and walked forward. "Little brother, don't be nervous. Big sister will be gentle." As she spoke, in the blink of an eye, with Yu Linglong as the center, a dazzling array formation instantly unfolded. The array was dark green in color. As it slowly rotated, it emitted a power that made the heavens and earth tremble. Even the air was dyed with a layer of green. The nearby experts' faces changed slightly. The green light contained poison. Everyone immediately retreated far away. Leng Shiqi also frowned. He had seen Cui Linglong fight before, but he had never seen her use poison. In addition, generally speaking, high-level spirit cultivators would not cultivate poison techniques, because even Spirit Pulse stage spirit cultivators had protective spirit chi, and ordinary poisons had no effect. Therefore, the higher the realm, the greater the drawback of poison. But now that Cui Linglong was using poison, no one dared to underestimate it. Leng Shiqi thought that his body was strong, and was not afraid of poison. However, he still summoned sword chi to protect his body. He was not willing to use his body to test the poison. At this time, Cui Linglong's figure quietly disappeared into the array. Leng Shiqi held the spirit sword in his hand and stabbed out. Behind him, a stormy wave was formed completely from sword chi. The sword wave roared out and rampaged. However, the dark green aura was eroding the sword wave. Soon more than half of it was assimilated. Leng Shiqi could not even find Cui Linglong's shadow. Not only that, the dark green aura was still slowly expanding. It seemed that it was about to completely envelop Leng Shiqi. Leng Shiqi felt that it was a bit tricky. Cui Linglong did not rely on her cultivation to attack. Instead, she used the strange method to test the waters. From this point of view, Cui Linglong definitely did not underestimate Leng Shiqi. She treated him as an opponent of the same level. Leng Shiqi was already at a disadvantage before the two sides even started fighting. He had some methods to force Cui Linglong out, but that would expose his identity. Therefore, Leng Shiqi closed his eyes and connected his mind with the ground beneath his feet. More than half of the ground of the minor chaos paradise was under his control. Found it. Leng Shiqi's eyes widened as he used the power of the earth to locate Cui Linglong. With a point of the spirit sword, the sword river surged upwards. Boundless sword intent engulfed the entire area, heading straight for the edge of the formation. Sure enough, a blurry figure formed a strange hand seal with both hands. In an instant, flames soared into the sky, dazzling golden light and rolling thunder. Cui Linglong was able to control three powerful elements at the same time. Crimson flames, golden light, and lightning filled the heavens and earth, colliding with each other and emitting bursts of violent aura. In an instant, Lung Shiqi's sword river was annihilated. "Little brother, you're quite sensitive. You found me so quickly." Cui Linglong was still able to tease him while controlling the three violent forces. It was clear that her control over the forces had reached an extreme level. Lung Shiqi ignored Cui Linglong. He changed his sword style and suddenly, endless green sword light bloomed like a flood dragon. It was extraordinarily powerful. However, in Cui Linglong's eyes, this sword style was still a little weak. She pointed her finger, and the three forces in the sky suddenly shrank and condensed into a huge three-headed python. Each head of the python contained different forces: golden light, raging flames, and lightning. Then, the three python heads opened their mouths and circles of formations appeared. The three forces of gold, crimson, and purple poured down as if they were going to penetrate the entire ground. Lung Shiqi's sword Qi Flood Dragon was pierced into several pieces. He also knew that he could not defeat Cui Linglong with this sword style. With a thought, the broken flood dragon turned into a sea. There were no waves in the sea, as if it was a pool of stagnant water. An island stood in the middle of the sea. The island was surrounded by clouds, like a legendary mirage. Cui Linglong's three streams of light that could shatter everything fell into the sea, like a clay ox entering the sea, and did not cause any waves. The surrounding experts were surprised. How did Cui Linglong's powerful spiritual technique disappear just like that? How did Lung Shiqi do it? Cui Linglong also stopped smiling. Her expression became serious. However, her eyes immediately flashed and she said, "So it's an illusion technique. Moreover, it's an extremely special illusion technique. It has already reached the level where it can change reality and illusion. You've really hidden yourself well. You flatter me. A mirage seems to be an illusion, but it actually exists somewhere in the world. It can be considered an illusion," Lung Shiqi explained. Cui Linglong and the other experts nodded as if they were serious. The real situation was that Lung Shiqi was just using an illusion. He condensed a black hole under the illusion to swallow Cui Linglong's attack. Of course, in order not to be seen by Celestial Master He Yen and Monarch Cloud Shuttle, he only used a trace of the power of the black hole. In addition, he used an illusion to cover it, so it should not be discovered. He used such a cheating method to tie with Cui Linglong, which showed that Cui Linglong's strength was also very strong. Hearing this, Cui Linglong's expression changed. Then she suddenly smiled and said, "Little brother, you've also comprehended illusions. That's great. However, this elder sister also knows illusions. It's impolite not to reciprocate. Why don't you try my illusions?" she asked Lung Shiqi, but before she finished the sentence, a misty light flashed around her. Everyone felt a flash of whiteness. When they looked again, Lung Shiqi and Cui Linglong had disappeared inexplicably. In fact, it was not that they disappeared, but that everyone was unknowingly under the illusion. It was the same for Lung Shiqi. He was currently in a pure white space. There was not a single person or object around him. Everything that entered his eyes was completely blank. Extreme darkness and extreme light could both blind a person. Not long after, Lung Shiqi felt that he couldn't see anything. Even his perception had been deprived. He was no different from a blind person without any cultivation. At this moment, a green stream of light as thick as a finger streaked across Lung Shiqi's back. The stream of light instantly penetrated Lung Shiqi's back, leaving a clear bloody hole in his body. Then Lung Shiqi's body fell in a pool of blood. Cui Linglong frowned as she appeared. She muttered, "Is he really dead?" However, in the next moment, she suddenly spat out a large mouthful of blood. She looked down and saw that the tip of a sword had pierced through her heart. How is this possible? Cui Linglong could not believe what she saw. They were clearly in her illusion. How could she be sneak attacked? At this moment, Lung Shiqi's voice sounded behind her. "Miss, I forgot to tell you that I am also very resistant to illusions. Your illusion is useless against me." In the outside world, Cui Linglong's illusion could only affect the masters for a moment at most. When they broke free from the illusion, they saw Lung Shiqi piercing through Cui Linglong with his sword. Many of the masters watching the battle could not help but breathe rapidly. The result was that Leng Shiqi won. He had actually defeated Cui Linglong, the most popular person on the Flying Dragon list. At the same time, it meant that he had obtained a place on the Flying Dragon list. Although they did not know how Leng Shiqi won, a victory was a victory. In a battle, one only looked at the result, not the process. Chapter 766. In fact, Leng Shiqi was able to win against Cui Linglong because of a little trick. If it was a normal fight, he would have lost to Cui Linglong if he could not use his full strength. Therefore, Leng Shiqi purposely used the power of the earth to create an illusion of Sea City Chenlu to arouse Cui Linglong's desire to win. As the most powerful spiritual cultivation sect in the world, the wonderful sect of 10,000 arts definitely had illusions. Therefore, since Cui Linglong was able to cultivate a genius like Meng Tiantian, she must have dabbled in illusions as a master of the wonderful sect of 10,000 arts. After being stimulated by Leng Shiqi, Cui Linglong would most likely use illusions to fight back. Then, she would fall into Leng Shiqi's trap. Leng Shiqi's mind power had already condensed into a godly soul. This was something only a spiritual cultivator of the Tianyuan realm could have. Moreover, he was also proficient in illusions. Cui Linglong, who did not specialize in illusions, was naturally inferior to him in this aspect. At this moment, his spiritual sword had pierced through Cui Linglong's chest. However, Cui Linglong's life force did not show any signs of dissipating. Her chest was filled with strands of dark green radiance. Leng Shiqi's sword did not feel like it had pierced through anything. "You can't hurt me. I didn't lose." Cui Linglong stopped joking and gritted her teeth angrily. Leng Shiqi shook his head. "I didn't use any sword skills. Otherwise, even if you have a secret technique to protect yourself, you will either die or be crippled. Little sister, why are you so stubborn?" "You." Cui Linglong was about to explode with anger. Just as she was about to explode, Lord He Yin descended from the sky. His eyes contained the power of divine anger. Cui Linglong immediately shut her mouth. Lord He Yin said calmly, "It's just a fight. There is no life or death. A loss is a loss." Yes. Although Cui Linglong was unwilling, she did not dare to be presumptuous in front of heavenly venerable black flame. She could only swallow her anger and roll her eyes at Leng Shiqi, as if she could peel off a layer of his skin with her gaze. Leng Shiqi ignored this look, but he could not ignore the looks of the other masters. At this time, those who were not involved in the battle were staring at Leng Shiqi. None of them understood how Leng Shiqi won. In short, it was related to illusion. Not only was his cultivation profound at such a young age, his talent in the sword Dao was astonishing, and he even grasped a type of extreme yin energy. That was not all. It seemed that his attainments in illusions were also very high. How much more was he hiding? Where were the limits of his strength? Leng Shiqi's three opponents so far were Meng Xian, Huang Xiwan, and Cui Linglong. Except for Meng Xian, the rest of the battles were beyond everyone's expectations. Where did such a monstrous genius come from in the Thunderblaze dynasty? After Cui Linglong walked into the crowd, Celestial Master He Yin turned around and glanced at Leng Shiqi. At the same time, a voice sounded in his ears. "It seems that you are very free." Leng Shiqi's heart skipped a beat, then he smiled inwardly. Celestial Master He Yin had seen through him. Perhaps he had used his mental strength when countering Cui Linglong's illusion. A person's appearance could be easily changed, but the aura of one's mental strength could not be changed. This was why Celestial Master He Yin had sensed it. However, Celestial Master He Yin immediately flew into the sky and continued to observe the other battles, as if he had no intention of interfering. Leng Shiqi thought about it and felt that it was true. He was originally the core person of the World First Spirit Cultivator Conference. It was not a big deal for him to secretly go down and play a game. Furthermore, according to the information from the Soul Avatar, it wouldn't be long before Heavenly Venerable Black Flame and Monarch Cloud Shuttle would enter the Imperial Consecration Hall and give up their positions. They must have heard the news, and at this time, they were not in the mood to meddle in other people's business. Following Leng Shiqi's victory over Cui Linglong, He had already confirmed a spot on the Flying Dragon list. As for the specific ranking, it was hard to say. He would have to wait until the ranking battle to confirm it. However, Leng Shiqi's interest was almost at an end. In any case, entering the Flying Dragon list was his goal. He did not care about the ranking. After all, this identity could only be considered a temporary alias. Moreover, he had defeated Cui Linglong, so the other party would definitely not let it go. With Cui Linglong's strength, she would definitely win the next battle. At that time, she would definitely challenge Leng Shiqi. That would be troublesome. Thus, Leng Shiqi left the minor chaos paradise under everyone's astonished gazes. Why did he leave? He gave up on the ranking battle. This way, his ranking will not be near the top. Maybe he paid a big price to defeat Cui Linglong and can't fight anymore. At least he knows his place. That makes sense. His cultivation is the lowest. When the ranking battle comes, people will want to challenge him the most. Leng Shiqi walked out of the minor chaos paradise and went straight back to the Dark Thunder Guard's headquarters. There was another reason why he left early. The battles of the unity of heaven and man realm were about to enter the final ranking battle. Then, the battles of the other realms would only progress faster. It was time for him to come out and end it. When he arrived at the Xingji Pavilion, Leng Shiqi withdrew the illusory body he used to deceive people and called Ren Yi. Sir, the Hidden Dragon list and the Wandering Dragon list are out. Oh, that's fast. Let me see. Leng Shiqi was very interested in the people on the Hidden Dragon list and the Wandering Dragon list. He first opened the Hidden Dragon list. It included the most outstanding low-level disciples of the Thunderblaze dynasty. These people were definitely the most important people of the younger generation of the major forces. Unfortunately, Leng Shiqi did not know anyone on the list. He only vaguely remembered a few people from the Dark Thunder Guards. Then he opened the list of the Wandering Dragon list. There were a few familiar names on it. For example, Bing Shang. He was currently ranked 8th on the Wandering Dragon list. Bing Shang's cultivation was at the peak of the Spirit Aperture realm. He had the Ice variant Zero Ice, and was later accepted as a disciple by Black Frost Noble Lady. It was not surprising that he had such a high ranking. With Bing Shang's name on the list, Leng Shiqi could imagine that when the Dragon list was released, the Bloodrobe Pavilion's name would gradually appear in front of everyone. This was what the upper echelons of the Bloodrobe Pavilion wanted to see the most. Aside from Bing Shang, he also saw Lian Yi and Mo Li's names. These two were relatively famous beauties in the capital. They were in the middle of the Wandering Dragon list. Leng Shiqi continued to look and did not see Tang Wanqiu's name. This was within his expectations. Although Tang Wanqiu's cultivation had greatly increased and could last 2 more rounds, it was still too difficult for her to enter the Wandering Dragon list. That's good, Leng Shiqi murmured. He had an idea in his mind. At this moment, Fei Chen hurried in from outside. Sir, the Divine Dragon list has been decided. Chapter 767. Leng Shiqi raised his eyebrows. So fast. There were not many Sky Origin Realm experts participating in the first Spirit Cultivator Conference this time. But the speed of the battle between Sky Origin Realm experts was unpredictable. Especially since the battle this time was to throw out one's mental power. One could display one's skills without any worries. Logically speaking, it should be more difficult. Fei Chen replied, Sir, it's a coincidence that in the Battle of Sky Origin Realm, the difference in strength between the opponents is very obvious, so the process is very fast. The experts of the Divine Dragon ranking are here, please take a look. Leng Shiqi hooked his finger, and the ranking list flew into his hand. When he opened it, the first name that entered his eyes was Fu Yingxi. The Hall Master of the top sect, Supreme Saber Hall, Fu Yingxi. He was also the only expert who was not afraid of the Thunderfire dynasty's arrangements and came to the imperial capital. Leng Shiqi thought for a moment. It was not surprising that Fu Yingxi could take the Divine Dragon ranking's helper. After all, the Sky Origin Realm experts who could participate in the first Spirit Cultivator Conference were all rogue cultivators. As the leader of a powerful sect with a long history, if he did not take first place, it would be a bit of a disgrace to his name. In the Divine Dragon ranking, What surprised Leng Shiqi the most was that he saw a very familiar person, Chu Hejing. Chu Hejing was naturally Wu Xiang, and Wu Xiang had just broken through to the Sky Origin realm. Yet he was able to suppress so many experts to be ranked on the Divine Dragon ranking. Even though Wu Xiang was ranked at the bottom of the Divine Dragon ranking, which was the 12th place, it showed that Wu Xiang's strength was indeed terrifying. The battle between the unity of heaven and man realm is probably about to end. After it ends, we can announce all the rankings to the world and let everyone in the Thunderfire dynasty know about it. These people want to be famous throughout the world, then let them be famous throughout the world. Leng Shiqi sneered. Being famous was naturally a good thing, but it would also push him into the heart of the storm. As for whether he could withstand it or not, that was not something he needed to worry about. This humble one understands. He Feichen turned around and was about to leave, but was stopped by Leng Shiqi. He instructed, "Oh right, the first place of the Divine Dragon ranking Fu Yingxi, have a special prefix added to him." Prefix. Not only He Feichen, but even Ren Yi was confused. Leng Shiqi smiled evilly. Since we're holding the world's first spirit cultivator assembly, the top of the Divine Dragon leaderboard is naturally number 1 in the world. When you announce the list, write him as the world's number 1 Fuing faction. Number 1 in the world. Everyone exclaimed at the same time as He Feichen. The reason why they were like this was not because of anything else, but because they felt that Fu Yingxi was not worthy of this title. Although Fu Yingxi was the hall master of the Extreme Saber Hall, his strength was naturally very strong, but he was still far from being number 1 in the world. Not to mention the Tongxian realm experts in the Falling Star continent, there were many Heavenly Origin realm experts in the Thunderfire dynasty who were stronger than Fu Ying. The reason why those people did not come to the first Spirit Cultivator Assembly was because they were afraid that it was a trap set by the Thunderflame dynasty and did not dare to take the risk. Otherwise, who knew if Fu Ying's lineage could even squeeze into the Divine Dragon list? When Leng Shiqi saw their reactions, he smiled even more satisfactorily. He asked, "If both of you think that Fu Yingxi is unworthy of the title of number 1 in the world, what will the experts of the other top sects think? What will they do? Don't forget, after the list is announced, anyone who can defeat a spirit cultivator on the list will be able to replace him." Hearing this, He Feichen and Ren Yi looked at each other. They could instantly guess what Fu Ying would encounter in the future. As the so-called number 1 in the world, there were many people who were dissatisfied with him, and there were also many who had the ability to defeat him. It could be imagined that Fu Yingxi would be challenged by many people in the future. Those who had the strength to challenge him were basically the strongest experts of the top sections. No matter who won or lost, the grudges between these sects would be formed, and it would be a great grudge. This Fu Yingxi would probably attract endless trouble because of the title of number 1 in the world. Then again, the greater the conflict between the spirit cultivator sects, the more beneficial it would be for the Thunderflame dynasty. This was also the main reason why Leng Shiqi proposed the first spirit cultivator assembly. He Feichen understood everything and immediately shouted, "Master's wisdom makes me prostrate myself in admiration." Ren Yi was not as exaggerated as him, and also cupped his fists and said, "Master is wise." Alright, the first spirit cultivator assembly is about to end, and there are a lot of loose ends. You guys have to keep a close eye on it, and don't let anything go wrong. Leng Shiqi waved his hand, and the two of them left. Not long after, the Heaven Man Unity Realms ranking competition also ended, and the final ranking of the Flying Dragon list was finally sent to Leng Shiqi. He didn't look at anyone else, but first looked at his own position. On the Flying Dragon list, it was written like this: 22 ND place on the Flying Dragon list, Leng Shiqi, disciple of the Sword King Langyu, middle stage of the Heaven Man Unity Realm, proficient in the way of the sword, controlling the power of extreme Yin. He had entered the ranking competition as the victor, so theoretically, his lowest ranking should have been 22nd place. But in reality he had forfeited the rest of the ranking competition, so it was very likely that his ranking would be very low. He was already very satisfied that he was still at 22nd place. After all, the rest of the people on the Flying Dragon list were all at the peak of the Heaven Man Unity Realm. The top 4 of the Flying Dragon list were Wei Zhen of the Six Directions Spirit Realm, Hua Feiyuan of the Liuhua Palace, and Black Devil Hand of the Purgatory Demon Sect. The 4th place was Cui Linglong of the 10,000 Wonders Sect. Cui Linglong was actually able to climb to 4th place. It seems that her strength is well-deserved. I was lucky to be able to beat her once. Leng Shiqi said to himself. Since all the rankings had been released, it meant that the first Spirit Cultivator Assembly was coming to an end. Now, all that was left was the last public ranking. The first Spirit Cultivator Assembly had caused a huge commotion, so naturally, it couldn't be a weak finish. Therefore, Leng Shiqi had specially scheduled a grand ceremony for a few days later. The Spirit Cultivator who had specially come to announce the various rankings. On this day, the Emperor of the Thunderfire Dynasty Lei Haoyan personally came and read out all the names one by one from the Hidden Dragon list. In fact, these people already knew the results after the end of the competition, but they were still incomparably excited at this moment. This was because there were countless people watching them, causing them to feel an unprecedented sense of satisfaction. When Lei Haoyan was about to read the last name, the Hall Master of the Supreme Blade Hall, Fu Yingxi, did not hide his emotions and proudly raised his head. The number 1 on the Divine Dragon list, and also the number 1 in the world, Fu Yingxi. After these words were spoken, the scene instantly became strangely silent, and the smile on Fu Yingxi's face also stiffened. As the number 1 on the Divine Dragon list, he had fought for it with his own hands. However, the Thunderfire Dynasty had actually given him the title of number 1 in the world. Although he was a person who valued fame, he knew that he could not afford it. At the same time, he also understood that he had been played by the Thunderfire Dynasty. Chapter 768. At this moment, Fu Yingxi was cursing the Thunderfire Dynasty in his heart. He did not give anyone face and immediately turned to leave. Everyone who saw this scene secretly shook their heads. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that the Thunderfire Dynasty was using Fu Yingxi's title of number 1 in the world to cause conflict between the top sections. But so what if they knew? The Sky Origin stage experts of the other top sects would still challenge Fu Yingxi like moths to a flame. This was the great attraction of fame to people. Just like the Spirit Cultivators on the various rankings, which one of them did not know the intentions of the Thunderfire Dynasty. However, they still did not hesitate and risked their lives to fight for a position on the Dragon rankings. Even if they were used by the Thunderfire Dynasty, even if they would cause trouble for themselves, they still could not control themselves under the temptation of fame and fortune. With Fu Yingxi's departure, it meant that the world's first Spirit Cultivator Assembly had finally come to an end. This grand event that had ignited all the Spirit Cultivators of the Thunderfire Dynasty had ended, but an even greater undercurrent would sweep through all the Spirit Cultivator sects of the Thunderfire Dynasty. After that, Lei Haoyan gathered all the ministers. All of them had happy expressions on their faces, and they were used to not showing their emotions, but they could not care less. This was because the benefits that the first Spirit Cultivator Assembly had brought to the Thunderfire Dynasty were simply too great. They all knew that today was the day to discuss their merits and rewards. Leng Shiqi's soul clone first praised everyone, then directly pointed to Leng Shiqi. Minister Lu, the world's first Spirit Cultivator Assembly was your suggestion, and you were the one who presided over it from start to finish. Now that it has been completed, Minister Lu's contributions cannot go unnoticed. If you have any requests, just say it. We will do our best to satisfy you. When he said this, the minds of the ministers began to move. Leng Shiqi's contributions were undeniable. They all recognized it, so it was not too surprising that His Majesty could give such a promise. What they were curious about was, what kind of reward would Leng Shiqi propose? To him, as one of the 4 great directors of the Dark Thunder Guards, he naturally did not lack cultivation resources. Therefore, everyone guessed that he would definitely ask for power. At the same time, Leng Shiqi was already one of the 4 great directors. If he wanted to climb up, there was only one position left: the commander of the Dark Thunder Guards. Although Leng Shiqi's cultivation and experience were far from being qualified to be the Grand Commander, his contributions had deepened, and he was deeply favored by His Majesty. As the saying goes, a new emperor brings in new ministers. If Leng Shiqi really wanted to take a step forward, His Majesty might agree. Many people secretly glanced at Master He Yan. He had been the commander of the Dark Thunder Guards for dozens of years. He was a senior Sky Origin stage cultivator. Would he be willing to give up his position to a young man? The atmosphere in the hall quickly became a little strange. Everyone was waiting for Leng Shiqi's answer. Leng Shiqi walked out of the crowd and stood in the middle of the hall. I will take whatever your majesty gives. The soul avatar on the dragon throne smiled in satisfaction. Since that's the case, we will make the decision for you. As he spoke to hear, he turned to look at Empyrean Black Flame. He didn't speak, but his meaning was clear. Empyrean Black Flame said expressionlessly, I am willing to follow your majesty's orders. Everyone present could see that Empyrean Black Flame was unwilling to give up his power. However, he wasn't too obsessed with power and didn't want to go against His Majesty. The Soul Avatar smiled and said, You are too serious, Grand Commander. To be honest, we do intend to let Lu Xingji be the commander of the Dark Thunder Guards. Because he is young. But because he is too young to be qualified for this important position, we have decided to give Lu Xingji the position of a candidate for the Grand Commander. A candidate for the Grand Commander. This was already amazing. Although he was only a candidate, when the time came, he would be the only candidate. The position of the Grand Commander would naturally be his. In other words, the position of the Dark Thunder Guard's Grand Commander had been reserved by him. As for when he would take the position, it was just a matter of time. Empyrean Black Flame had a way out. He stepped forward and said, Your Majesty, when Lu Xingji breaks through to the Sky Origin stage, I will give up the position of the Grand Commander. The courtiers couldn't help laughing secretly. Among these people, there weren't many who had high cultivation. They all knew that the Sky Origin stage wasn't easy to break through. They didn't know how long it would take for Leng Shiqi to break through to the Sky Origin stage. It might even take a few decades. Empyrean Black Flame's move of retreating to advance was brilliant. However, Leng Shiqi nodded and said, Yes, Your Majesty. The Soul Avatar said, Lu Xingji has made such a great contribution. I won't be so stingy as to only give him an empty title. After he finished speaking, the old eunuch beside him held the imperial edict and said, By the will of the heavens, the Emperor decrees. Lu Xingji, the Dark Thunder Guard's Grand Commander, has made great contributions to the Empire. He will be conferred the title of Zhenling Duke. In addition, the Heavenly Tomb will be opened for 3 days. As soon as the imperial edict came out, the courtiers immediately began to whisper. First of all, the opening of the Heavenly Tomb didn't surprise them. Although the Heavenly Tomb couldn't be opened at will, Leng Shiqi's contributions were too great. It was reasonable to give him a special case. However, the fact that His Majesty conferred him the title of Zhenling Duke was extremely shocking. Among the ranks of nobility, Grand Duke was already the limit. Any higher and Leng Shiqi could only be conferred the title of king. It could be said that Leng Shiqi's status was only second to that of prince. The ranks of nobility were a bit special because most of the dukes and marquises didn't hold positions in the imperial court. They basically relied on the glory of their ancestors. As for these people, the Thunderflame dynasty didn't use them as much as possible. Even if some of them held important positions, they would gradually be demoted by the next generation. In the end, they would all become idle people. The Thunderflame dynasty could let these people live a carefree life, but they definitely wouldn't let them hold great power. This was because the dukes and marquises all had some military power. According to the rank of nobility, they had the right to train soldiers in their manners. If these people still held high positions in the imperial court, it was equivalent to having the capital to rebel. No emperor would allow such a thing to happen. Even if it was just a small possibility, Leng Shiqi was already one of the 4 great managers of the Dark Thunder Guards. He had also obtained the position of Great Commander Candidate. He held monstrous power in his hands and had countless experts under him. If such a person were to be given the noble status of a duke, he would be able to openly recruit soldiers and buy horses. Wouldn't that be like raising a tiger and inviting calamity? Even though some of the ministers wanted to retort, the 2 elders from the imperial family frowned deeply. However, Lei Haoyan was the first to speak. We know that you all have misgivings, but Minister Lu has yet to marry and has no children. The title of Zhenling Duke cannot be inherited. Moreover, Minister Lu is loyal. We believe in him. The second half of his sentence was directly ignored by everyone. The focus was on the first half. The title was not hereditary. In this way, Leng Shiqi's threat was much smaller, and the ministers could reluctantly accept it. Leng Shiqi knew that the opportunity couldn't be missed. He immediately said, "This minister accepts the decree. Long live your majesty." Chapter 769. Leng Shiqi had already thanked him and received his reward. Even if there were a few dissatisfied ministers, they still shut their mouths. Lei Haoyan was the new emperor, but he had also modified the first Spirit Cultivator Conference a lot. His strategy and wisdom had already been recognized by these ministers. Moreover, Leng Shiqi's contributions were unparalleled, so it was barely acceptable. There was no need to contradict the emperor over this matter. At this point, Leng Shiqi's reward was set. He had reserved the position of the Dark Thunder Guard's commander in advance. This was the power of an extremely high official. The title of Duke Zhenling was a symbol of his status. Also, entering the heavenly tomb to cultivate was to increase his cultivation. These three rewards could be said to be all-encompassing. They were what Leng Shiqi needed the most. Of course, this was also a reward that he had long considered for himself. The degree of control was very good. Although many ministers felt that it was a bit excessive, there were restrictions in each reward, so it could shut their mouths. Leng Shiqi's matter was over, and all that was left was to reward them according to their contributions. In this first Spirit Cultivator Conference, apart from the Dark Thunder Guard, the Discipline Commission, the City Lord's Mansion, and almost all the officials had participated. Now that they had succeeded, they naturally had to be promoted. The atmosphere in the hall became jubilant in the blink of an eye. Basically, as long as the ministers standing here had contributed, they would receive more or less rewards. In the end, they even held a celebratory banquet. This matter was indeed worthy of celebration. After the celebratory banquet ended, Leng Shiqi walked straight into the Dark Thunder Guard's treasury. That was also the entrance to the heavenly tomb. In Leng Shiqi's eyes, power and status were important, but the most important thing was still cultivation and strength. Now that he was at the middle stage of the unity of heaven and man realm, ordinary cultivation pills were no longer of much use to him. In the unity of heaven and man realm, the key to breaking through was to communicate with the elemental power of heaven and earth. Leng Shiqi had already grasped a trace of the power of the laws of heaven and earth. This power far exceeded the power of the elements, but it was also because of this that he was missing a link. If he wanted to increase his realm as soon as possible, he had to make up for the missing link. It was just like having the idea of solving a problem, or even knowing the answer. However, the process of solving the problem might not be smooth sailing. The only way to help the Leng Shiqi was to enter the heavenly tomb. In the heavenly tomb, except for the consciousnesses of the two metaphysic realm powerhouses mentioned by Prince Botched Governance, the rest were all comprehensions left by Tianyuan realm powerhouses, which happened to be between the power of elements and the law of heaven and earth. If Leng Shiqi could gain enlightenment from it, he would be only one step away from the heaven origin stage. Leng Shiqi walked past the doors of the Dark Thunder Guard's treasury. He didn't even look at the countless treasures and resources. He didn't know when it started, but these things had become less and less attractive to him. At his level, comprehending the heaven and earth was far more important than some external objects. For example, when he participated in the world's first Spirit Cultivator Conference, he only used a 5th-level spiritual sword. Even so, he still managed to kill his way to 22nd place on the Flying Dragon leaderboard. And this was because he had abstained from the ranking battle. Otherwise, he would definitely be in the top 20. Spirit weapons greatly increased the fighting strength of spirit cultivators. However, Leng Shiqi's strength did not increase by much even though he was holding a 5th-level and 7th-level spirit sword. People he could win against, even if he didn't use a sword. People he couldn't win against, even if he used a 7th-level spirit sword, he still couldn't win. Unless he took out a rare spirit weapon like the 8th level earth weapon, the 1000 illusion Dao sword, it would have an obvious effect. It could also be said that as Leng Shiqi's strength increased, his state of mind and vision had become very high. Leng Shiqi held the keepsake in his hand and released a series of seals, once again opening the entrance of the heavenly tomb. The last time he came in, he was brought in by eunuch Gao. Now his status as one of the 4 great directors of the Dark Thunder Guard and the Spirit Duke was above eunuch Gao. As for strength, Leng Shiqi was confident that he was definitely not weaker than eunuch Gao. In such a short period of time, even he was surprised by his growth speed. However, Leng Shiqi was not complacent at all. He was very clear that although his current strength seemed very strong, in the eyes of the world, it was still not enough. He had never wavered in his pursuit of strength. The entrance to the heavenly tomb was opened, and Leng Shiqi felt the power of heaven and earth rushing towards him. He took a deep breath and walked into the heavenly tomb. At the same time, in the imperial palace, Leng Shiqi's soul clone was gathered with Mo Linhui and the 2 clan elders. Clan elder Lei Duan-yi and Lei Duan-hai said at the same time, "Your Majesty, it's time for us to leave." Mo Linhui's heart skipped a beat. He naturally knew what the 2 of them were here for, and now that they had proposed to leave, it meant that they were going to give up their power. It also meant that in their eyes, Lei Haoyan had the qualifications to sit firmly on the dragon throne. Leng Shiqi's soul clone immediately revealed a surprised expression. "Why do the 2 clan elders say that? I need you to help me with my worries." He was not being polite, he was speaking from the bottom of his heart. What a joke, he had not rested for a day for several months, so there was no need to talk about cultivating and refining the purple crystal frost flame. Therefore he really hoped that Lei Duan-yi and Lei Duan-hai could stay. They could stay and help him with the country's affairs. He immediately continued, "I know my own limits. This time, the world's first spirit cultivator conference has ended smoothly. Actually, I have long been planning on how to deal with the spirit cultivator sections. However, I do not know much about other important matters, so I hope that the clan elders can lend me a hand." His words were very sincere, and instantly moved the 2 clan elders. The 2 of them were not young anymore, and they were born in the imperial family. Up until now, they had seen countless scenes of brothers killing each other and father and son turning against each other. Even after Lei Haoyan had ascended the throne and given him power, he was still unwilling. He was still so humble and had a pure heart. It was the fortune of the Thunderfire dynasty to have such an emperor. The soul doppelganger saw that the 2 clan elders were moved, so he immediately struck while the iron was hot. "Clan elders, Minister Mo, I plan to set up a 3-yuan pavilion in the imperial palace. The 3 of you will enter the 3-yuan pavilion. In the future, the 3 of you will look through all the big and small memorials of the Thunderfire dynasty. If you can resolve them after discussion, you can directly approve them. There is no need to present them to me. Only if the 3 of you feel that you can't make up your mind, we will discuss them together." Lei Duan-yi, Lei Duan-hai, and Mo Linhui looked at each other. This 3-yuan pavilion was incredible. It was equivalent to the 3 of them taking away half of the imperial power. This had never happened before. After all, which emperor would be at ease handing over power to others? Since the emperor in front of them had done so, it meant that he had great trust in the 3 of them. Just this trust alone made them feel like they were being blessed by the heavens. Mo Linhui was the first to kneel on the ground. "To be able to gain your Majesty's trust is the fortune of this old subject's life." The 2 clan elders muttered to themselves, seeming to be a little hesitant. The reason for their hesitation was not that they did not want to agree, but that they had originally planned to give power to Lei Haoyan. In the end, it was the other way around. However, under the sincere gaze of the soul doppelganger, they still nodded. Lei Duani said, "Your Majesty, we can agree to the 3-yuan pavilion. If there is a day in the future when your Majesty no longer needs the 3-yuan pavilion, the 2 of us will immediately leave." The soul doppelganger smiled in his heart. He finally had some time to cultivate. However, just as he was secretly rejoicing, Mo Linhui raised his head and said, "Your Majesty, isn't it time to prepare for your concubine selection?" Chapter 770. Recently, although the world's first spirit cultivator assembly had ended, a large number of spirit cultivators were not in a hurry to leave the capital, because the Phoenix dance role selection was about to begin. Especially this time, the Phoenix dance role was linked to the new emperor's concubine selection, causing countless beauties to break their heads to squeeze in. Of course, there were some who looked down on the position of imperial concubine. Just like 10,000 mysterious sects, Cui Linglong also participated in the Phoenix dance role, but she only went to play. Even if she was chosen as imperial concubine, she would not agree. At this time, in Mo Linhui's study, Mo Yile's eyes were red as she rubbed the corner of her clothes with her fingers, looking very wronged. Father, do you really want me to marry that Lei Haoyan? How old is he? I don't like him. Mo Linhui looked at his younger daughter, who had a child at an old age, and his heart was filled with mixed feelings. He suddenly sighed, and the wrinkles on his face deepened, making him look like he had aged a few years. He sighed, "My good daughter, to be able to marry into the imperial family and become an imperial concubine is an honor. Do you know how many women outside dream of becoming an imperial concubine? Father knows that you are playful and do not care about status and power. Father also wants you to live a carefree life, but Father is not young anymore. How many more years can I protect you? If Father is no longer here, what will you do?" "No." Mo Yile interrupted Mo Linhui with tears on her face. "Father, you will definitely live a long life." Mo Linhui dotingly patted the back of Mo Yile's head. "Silly child, Father knows my own body best. In recent years, it has been getting worse and worse. Relying on those heavenly treasures to support me for a few more years won't be a problem. So Father wants to pave the way for you in advance. Your cultivation talent is very high. Father originally wanted you to enter the Discipline Commission, or the Dark Thunder Guards. Coincidentally, the new emperor has ascended the throne and expanded the harem. This is an excellent opportunity for you. Although you still like to play, you are quick-witted and have cultivation. Ordinary methods are useless against you. In addition, Father is working for you outside. I guarantee that you will be able to sit on the imperial concubine position sooner or later. Even becoming the mother of the world is not impossible." Mo Ilu was displeased. Just as she was about to retort, Mo Linhui raised his hand and said earnestly, "Father knows you're proud and don't care about these things. But have you ever thought, Father has been the prime minister for many years, and can be considered a person of virtue and prestige, but there are also many people who want to get rid of me. Your brothers aren't mediocre, but they aren't brave either. Once Father is gone, our Mo family will be in danger. Only when you become the imperial concubine, and make the Mo family a relative of the imperial family, can the Mo family continue to prosper. Do you understand Father's painstaking efforts?" Mo Linhui's words were like a mountain pressing down on Mo Ili's heart. It turned out that the prosperity of the Mo family was on her shoulders. Even though she was extremely unwilling in her heart, she had already tacitly agreed with Mo Linhui's decision. She was playful, had a bad temper, and was somewhat arrogant. It was precisely because she was born into the Mo family that she had the right to be arrogant. Now it was time to repay the Mo family. Mo Ili's heart was incomparably sour, but her eyes became much more resolute. "Father, daughter understands. Daughter will listen to your arrangements." Saying these words seemed to use up all the strength in her body. Then she turned around and left. Her frail back made one's heart ache. Mo Linhui didn't stop her because not only did he see Mo Ili's pain, but he also saw her growth. "Ilu, don't blame Father." The same thing happened at the Dark Thunder Guard headquarters. Empyrean Black Flame also said the same thing to Lian Yi. The difference was that Lian Ye's reaction was very different from Mo Ili's. After Lian Yi heard that Empyrean Black Flame wanted her to enter the palace, her first words were, "But I already have someone in my heart." Hearing this, Empyrean Black Flame was greatly surprised. He had always kept Lian Yi by his side. When did she have someone she liked? Moreover, Empyrean Black Flame was the person in charge of the Thunderfire dynasty's intelligence. If there really was someone close to Lian Yi, he should have already known. Therefore, Empyrean Black Flame immediately determined that this was Lian Ye's excuse. He earnestly said, "Lian, Or do you know what His Majesty said in the imperial court today? His Majesty is already prepared for me to hand over my position as Grand Commander. Compared to entering the imperial family's hall of worship to retire, I'm more willing to guard the border. However, if I do that, there will be no one to take care of you. How can I leave in peace? Godfather, I'm no longer a little girl. I can take care of myself. I know you've matured a lot in the past 2 years, but the person who will take over as Grand Commander isn't someone who's content with his lot. He might take care of you on account of me nurturing him, but he might also secretly pull out my trusted aide. Therefore, it's not suitable for you to continue staying in the Dark Thunder Guard. Emperor Black Flame frowned. Lian Yi became curious. Just who could shake Emperor Black Flame's position as Grand Commander and make him feel such dread? Godfather, who is this person you're talking about? Emperor Black Flame's tone turned serious. He's one of the 4 Grand Commanders of the Dark Thunder Guard, who proposed the first Spirit Cultivator Conference, Lu Xingji. It's him. Lian Ye's mouth opened slightly as she shouted in astonishment. That's right. He's currently deeply trusted by His Majesty. His Majesty is preparing to vigorously nurture Lu Xingji to become his trusted aide. You've interacted with Lu Xingji before, so you should know what kind of person he is. Wherever he goes, there will always be an endless vortex lingering around. Actually, this kind of person isn't suitable to be the Grand Commander of the Dark Thunder Guard. Speaking of which, he's more suitable for the Discipline Commission. However, since His Majesty has already made up his mind, even I can't change it. That's why he had you enter the palace. You once said that you wanted to marry someone with a powerful cultivation and resourcefulness. The current His Majesty has a cultivation at the late stage of unity of heaven and man realm. In just a few short months, he obtained the approval of all the ministers and firmly sat on the dragon throne. Could it be that you're still not satisfied? But, Lian Yi suddenly stuttered, a strange expression on her face. She softly muttered, then wouldn't Lu Xingji be even more outstanding? Although her voice was soft, who was Emperor Black Flame? Of course, he clearly heard these words. He asked in amazement, Lian, could it be that you've taken a fancy to that Lu Xingji? I don't know. Perhaps it's just a bit of worship. Lian Yi revealed the secret in her heart. She hadn't had much contact with Leng Shiqi, but she had watched Leng Shiqi's astonishing growth step by step. She had also witnessed Leng Shiqi's wisdom and courage. In any case, in her eyes, there was no one who could compare to Leng Shiqi. Emperor Black Flame was silent for a moment before saying, Lu Xingji is indeed a peerless genius that only appears once in 1,000 years. His future achievements are limitless. He definitely won't stop at being the Grand Commander of the Dark Thunder Guard. However, you have to know, how great can his power be? When his ambition isn't satisfied, who knows what he'll do? He's too dangerous and not suitable for you. Lian Yi quietly smiled. Adoptive father, what are you thinking? At most, I have a good impression of him. I've never thought of being together with him. That's good. Emperor Black Flame's face relaxed. A trace of craftiness flashed through Lian Ye's eyes. However, there's no need for me to marry Lei Haoyan. Even if he wants me to leave the Dark Thunder Guard and travel the world, it might not be a bad thing. Rather than going to the palace to be a canary in a cage, I'd rather be a free little bird. Emperor Black Flame's expression stiffened again. So you've been waiting for me here. That's fine. It's good that you're far away from the great maelstrom that is the imperial capital. As long as you're happy, your adoptive father will be satisfied. Lian Yi sweetly smiled, but in her heart she thought, perhaps I should go find him. Chapter 771. 3 days later, the Phoenix Dance Roll was made public along with the Dragon Roll. This time, the people in the imperial capital had a feast for their eyes. The competition for the Phoenix Dance Roll was really a feast for the eyes. In the end, the Phoenix Dance Roll set 100 places. Different from the Dragon Roll, the Phoenix Dance Roll did not have rankings. After all, beauties had different styles, so it was not easy to compare in detail. And among these 100 beauties, 6 were selected to enter the palace and become the new emperor's imperial concubines. Among the 6, 3 were daughters of ministers in the imperial court, and Moyile was one of them. The other 3 were disciples of spirit cultivation sections. It was worth mentioning that the 3 all came from first-class sections. This was what the soul doppelganger had pondered. He didn't like the weak sex, and the top sex would definitely not let them go. The most suitable ones were the first-class forces. In addition, there were 4 daughters of dukes and marquises entering the palace. This time, there were 10 more imperial concubines in the imperial harem, which was reasonable. Of course, with more people in the imperial harem, there would be more things to do, but these things would be a headache for the soul doppelganger. In a restaurant on the edge of the inner city of the imperial capital, Tang Wanqiu was packing up and preparing to return to Donglin County. Although she was not selected in the World First Spirit Cultivator Conference, her talent and strength were good, so some forces still threw her an olive branch. Because she cared about her mother, she refused them one by one, and planned to return to Donglin County to make plans. Anyway, the Tang family was no longer there, so she had freedom. Besides, with her strength, no matter which force she went to, she would be welcomed. However, just as she walked out of the restaurant, a young man stopped her with a smile. Behind the young man stood 5 people, all of whom were in the gang spirit realm. It could be seen that this person's identity was extraordinary. Tang Wanqiu frowned and asked warily, "We don't seem to know each other. Why do you stop me?" "How dare you?" A person behind the young man immediately shouted, "This is Lord He, the eunuch of the Dark Thunder Guard, and he is the trusted subordinate of Steward Liu. How dare you talk to Lord He like this? I think you are the one who is presumptuous." He Feichen twisted and scolded the man. "This Miss Tang is the guest that Lord Liu wants to invite. Slap her." The man was stunned. In the Dark Thunder Guard, didn't invite mean to take someone away? Now it seemed that he was really here to invite someone. The man had no choice but to symbolically slap himself twice. He secretly hated himself for his cheap mouth, and could only swallow this grievance. He Feichen turned his head around, his face full of smiles. "Miss Tang, please don't misunderstand. My family's lord specially sent me to invite Miss Tang into the residence for a chat." Tang Wanqiu couldn't wrap her head around this. Ever since she entered the imperial city, she had heard about the legendary deeds of Chief Steward Liu. He had only used a mere 2 years to go from envoy inspector to one of the 4 great chief stewards. She had heard that the world's first spirit cultivator conference was also organized by this Lord Liu behind the scenes. Why would such a powerful figure invite her? She looked at He Feichen, who had a fake smile on his face, and then looked at those gang spirit realm experts with unkind eyes. It seemed that she had no other choice. She gritted her teeth and said, "Lead the way." "Miss Tang, this way please." He Feichen brought Tang Wanqiu all the way to the Dark Thunder Guard headquarters next door. There was a majestic residence here. Above the gilded door, the words Xinling Residence were engraved. This was the residence that Leng Shiqi was bestowed after he was conferred the title of Xinling Residence. If he wasn't dealing with matters now, he would stay here. At this time, Leng Shiqi had just come out of the heavenly tomb, and his cultivation had already reached the late stage of unity of heaven and man realm. His greatest gain in the heavenly tomb was actually not his cultivation, but that he had finally found the missing link to make up for his lack of comprehension of the heaven and earth lock. The heavenly tomb was almost completely filled with the consciousness and cultivation experience left behind by sky origin experts. Naturally, there were also a large number of methods to quickly cultivate in the unity of heaven and man realm. Leng Shiqi had found a method that belonged to him, and that was to push back the power of the elements of heaven and earth. The power of the laws of heaven and earth, the power of heaven and earth, and the elemental power of heaven and earth were on a completely different level. Now that he had comprehended the power of the laws of heaven and earth, what he needed the most was the weakest of the 3, the elemental power of heaven and earth. So he thought of pushing back the power of heaven and earth. That was to use the power of the laws of heaven and earth to command the elemental power to do his bidding. For example, he had already grasped a trace of the law of earth, so he could use the law of earth to control the earth elemental power within a large range. He had also used this method to break through to the late stage of unity of heaven and man realm in a short 3 days. At the same time, his 4 spirits diagram also contained the power of the 4 elements, and the flowing dragon great void contained the power of yin and yang. As long as he had enough time, he would be able to cultivate to the peak of unity of heaven and man realm without any obstacles. And he felt that it wouldn't take long. So he had some time to deal with his biggest problem, Meng Tianzong. Actually, before looking for Tang Wanqiu, Leng Shiqi had already secretly contacted Bing Shang. He found out that Bing Shang's cultivation had also increased by leaps and bounds after leaving the illusory spirit secret realm. Because of this, he was noticed by Ink Frost Ghost Man, and was taken in as a disciple. Bing Shang and Leng Shiqi were similar in that when they were in the spirit vein realm, their spirit veins would open on their own. When they were in the spirit aperture realm, their spirit veins would open on their own. This was why Bing Shang was able to progress so quickly. Leng Shiqi thought that Tang Wanqiu was similar to them, so he wanted to ask her about it. However, before Tang Wanqiu came, Lian Yi came to find him. Leng Shiqi looked from afar and saw that Lian Ye's cultivation was the same as Bing Shang's, at the peak of spirit aperture realm. However, her ranking on the Wandering Dragon ranking was far lower than Bing Shang. This meant that Bing Shang's battle experience far surpassed Lian Ye's. Coincidentally, Lian Yi also came out of the illusory spirit secret realm, so he could test her. "Miss Lian Yi, please come in." Leng Shiqi personally came up to greet her. Lian Yi's footsteps paused. She looked at Leng Shiqi strangely and said, "I heard you are about to become the Grand Commander." "You can't say that. His Majesty has decreed that I can only become the Grand Commander after I break through to the Sky Origin realm. I admit that my talents are not bad, but I am still too far away from the Sky Origin realm. Maybe I won't be able to reach that height in this lifetime." Leng Shiqi thought that Lian Yi was here to cause trouble, so he was a bit humble. Lian Yi rolled her eyes and said, "I only came today to ask you one question." "Miss Lian Yi, please go ahead." Lian Yi seemed to casually ask, "You are one of the 4 great managers of the Dark Thunder Guards, the future Grand Commander, and also the Spirit Duke. You are also favored by His Majesty. Not only do you have great power, but you also have unlimited possibilities. It can be said that as a man, your achievements are something that countless people can't compare to in their entire lives. Have you ever thought about getting married?" Leng Shiqi didn't know what Lian Yi was trying to do. She went around in a big circle just to ask him if he wanted to get married or not. Where did this come from? Leng Shiqi didn't plan on hiding this point and said truthfully, "A man's ambition is to travel far. I have never thought about getting married." Why does Miss Lian Yi ask this? Even if Leng Shiqi had someone he liked, he knew that it was too easy for him to cause trouble. There was still an endless path of cultivation waiting for him. Before he had the strength to establish himself in the world, he wouldn't consider this matter. Hearing this answer, Lian Ye's heart tightened, but then she relaxed. She immediately turned around and said, "Sorry to disturb you. Goodbye." Just as she turned around, He Fei Chen brought Tang Wanqiu over. "Sir, this subordinate has invited Miss Tang here." "Oh, greetings, Miss Lian Yi." Lian Ye's footsteps stopped, and she stared at Tang Wanqiu. Strangely, she didn't remember seeing this person before, but she had a feeling of déjà vu. Tang Wanqiu also had a similar feeling when she looked at Lian Yi. Leng Shiqi secretly gave He Fei Chen a look, and He Fei Chen tactfully slipped away. He walked between the two and said, "The two of you haven't seen each other for a long time. How about we catch up?" Chapter 772. Reminisce. What did the 3 of them have to reminisce about? Lian Yi and Tang Wanqiu were puzzled, but they both had a feeling that they had seen each other before. This was too strange. Leng Shiqi stretched out his hand and said, "This is not the place to talk. Let's talk in my study." The 2 women hesitated for a moment before following Leng Shiqi to his study. The study wasn't very big, but there were dozens of formations and barriers set up inside and outside the study to ensure the safety and secrecy of this place. "Sit." Leng Shiqi simply greeted the 2. "If I'm not wrong, you both think you've never seen each other before, but in fact, Not only have you seen each other, but you've also fought side by side. As soon as these words came out, the two women were shocked. They didn't know about this, so how could others know? A few years ago we both entered the same place, the illusory spirit secret realm. Leng Shiqi said solemnly, but he suddenly remembered something. Right, I forgot to introduce you. This is the adopted daughter of the Dark Thunder Guard's commander, Miss Lian Yi. And this is Miss Tang Wanqiu from Dongling County's Tang family. Unfortunately, the Tang family no longer exists. Tang Wanqiu couldn't help but be shocked when she heard that Lian Yi was actually Heavenly Sovereign Black Flame's adopted daughter. The two people sitting in front of her had a higher status than the other. How could an ordinary woman like her have anything to do with them? However, when it came to the illusory spirit secret realm, Tang Wanqiu also remembered it, but she had no impression of Leng Shiqi and Lian Yi. Lian Yi said softly, Tang Wanqiu, I think I've heard this name before. You did enter the illusory spirit secret realm. Leng Shiqi said, it's not your fault that Miss Tang doesn't know Lian Yi, because at that time, Miss Lian Yi always wore a black veil and went in as a rogue cultivator. Speaking of this, Tang Wanqiu finally recalled that when she entered the illusory spirit secret realm, there were 10 rogue cultivators who participated, including a woman with a black veil. But she never thought that person would be Heavenly Sovereign Black Flame's adopted daughter. But in Tang Wanqiu's memories, she seemed to have never had any interactions with Lian Yi. At this time, Leng Shiqi pointed at himself, attracting the attention of the two. He took out a human skin mask and put it on his face. In an instant, he turned into an old-fashioned and serious middle-aged man. Upon seeing his face, the two women said at the same time, Suoqiu. In fact, Lian Yi was not very surprised. She had guessed Leng Shiqi's disguise when she was in the elite club of Dongling County. Tang Wanqiu was even more surprised, because Suoqiu had been standing by Lian Yi's side all those years ago. Now it would seem that those two independent cultivators were actually figures of extraordinary status. But why did they want to enter the illusory spirit secret realm? There shouldn't be anything inside that could attract the two of them. Leng Shiqi took off his mask and said, it's like this. He then told her everything that had happened in the different space, including the countless corpses, the powerful resentful spirits, and the strong man from 10,000 years ago, Meng Tianzong. When Leng Shiqi finished speaking, Lian Yi and Tang Wanqiu did not react at all. They did not remember what they had experienced at all, but Leng Shiqi's words did not seem to be nonsense. Moreover, there was no need for Leng Shiqi to make up such a big lie to deceive them. Then why did they not remember what they had experienced in the past? Leng Shiqi knew the biggest doubt in their hearts, so he replied, that's because Meng Tianzong tampered with your memories. And I was lucky enough to survive because of my strong mental power, but it almost caused the collapse of the spiritual space. Tampering with memories. The two women covered their red lips and turned pale with fright. Not only was the legendary Meng Tianzong not dead, but he could also tamper with their memories without them noticing. What kind of terrifying method was this? What kind of terrifying person was this? If what you said is true, then why didn't Meng Tianzong just kill us? Why did he go through so much trouble? Lian Yi calmed down first, and she keenly found the most important question. Leng Shiqi wasn't in a hurry to answer. Instead he asked, before that, I want to ask you something. When you were in the Spirit Meridian stage and Spirit Aperture stage, did you somehow manage to open your Spirit Meridians and Spirit Apertures? Especially Miss Tang, if I remember correctly, you used external items to forcefully break through to the Spirit Pulse realm. Logically speaking, your cultivation path should have stopped at the Spirit Pulse realm, but not only did you cultivate to the Spirit Aperture realm, you also cultivated very quickly. Have you never thought about the reason? Could it be that you were also like this? Lian Yi looked at Leng Shiqi and Tang Wanqiu and said in surprise. That's right, it's just as Steward Lu said. I thought it was because I accidentally obtained some opportunity in the illusory spirit secret realm. Tang Wanqiu frowned and said, from what Steward Lu said, there seems to be something fishy going on. Leng Shiqi nodded and said, if it was only one person, it would be reasonable to say that it was an opportunity. But it was not only the three of us. According to the investigation of my subordinates, The people who came out of the phantom spirit secret realm made rapid progress in cultivation. For example, Elder Huashao of the Golden Broadsword Hall, he is quite old. Not to mention making further progress, it is already very good for him to keep his qi and blood from declining. But as far as I know, he is already in the gang spirit realm. It can be seen that everyone who finally left the phantom spirit secret realm is like this. This sentence sent a chill down Lian Yi and Tang Wanqiu's backs. Meng Tianzong could kill tens of thousands of his disciples, so it was absolutely impossible for him to be so kind as to give them an opportunity. Maybe Meng Tianzong took advantage of this opportunity to do something to them. You could say that the peerless master 10,000 years ago didn't care about them at all, but it didn't mean that there was no such possibility. This was especially true when Leng Shiqi spoke of everything in such a serious manner today, which further confirmed this point. At present, I haven't found any abnormality in my body, but it's always good to prepare for a rainy day. So I hope you should pay attention to your own situation all the time. Once there is a problem, immediately tell each other. Leng Shiqi looked at Tang Wanqiu and said, Miss Tang, the Tang family has been destroyed, and I am deeply sorry. In this case, you might as well join the Dark Thunder Guards. With your ability, it is not a problem for you to be the inspector. In addition, I will take your family to the imperial capital and take good care of them. Tang Wanqiu didn't refuse. What Leng Shiqi proposed was of great benefit to her in all aspects, so she agreed without hesitation. When Leng Shiqi was about to continue speaking, Ren Ye's anxious voice came from outside the study. Your Excellency, urgent information. Leng Shiqi looked dignified and stood up with a swish. The two girls left wisely. Ren Yi took out a piece of information and handed it to Leng Shiqi. There was only one line in it. A beast tide broke out in the demonic Miasma Mountains. Chapter 773. Beast Tide. Leng Shiqi naturally knew about the beast tide. Back when he was in the demonic Miasma mountain range, he had thought that a beast tide had broken out. However, that was just a disturbance caused by Nine Leaf preparing for his tribulation. The people of the Imperial Beast Camp and the Blood Beast sect took advantage of it. Last time, the Dark Thunder Guard headquarters had probably received similar information, but they had also discovered the intentions of the Imperial Beast Abode and the Blood Beast sect. In any case, they would settle the matter of the demonic Miasma mountain range, so the Dark Thunder Guard naturally couldn't be bothered to interfere. However, it was completely different this time. Leng Shiqi asked, Is the information reliable? How could there be a beast tide in the demonic Miasma mountains? Master, the information is absolutely true. The spirit cultivators near the demon-suppressing demon city have suffered heavy casualties. Fortunately, the demon-suppressing demon city is strong enough, and the city guards are not weak. Only then were they able to block the many spirit beasts that erupted. Ren Yi said in a heavy tone. This was actually true. Leng Shiqi knew that this was no small matter. Last time, it was just a fake beast horde, but they had mobilized nearby troops to reinforce the demon-suppressing city. It was clear that the Thunderfire dynasty attached great importance to the demonic Miasma mountain range. But then again, this might not be a good opportunity to make a contribution. If the Thunderfire dynasty was at peace, where would he, as the chief steward, get any merits? He turned around and asked, Have you found out the reason for the beast tide outbreak? At this moment, a trace of disbelief appeared on Ren Ye's face, and he said, It said that a rank 7 great demon appeared in the depths of the demonic Miasma mountain range. And it's not just one. Impossible. Leng Shiqi blurted out. A few years ago, a rank 7 great demon like Nine Leaf appearing in the demonic Miasma mountain range was already a once-in-a-century occurrence. How long had it been since then? How could another rank 7 great demon be born? Not to mention that there was more than one. If the demon Miasma mountain range had so many rank 7 great demons, it would not have been reduced to the 3 great dynasties' back garden. Your humble servant also felt that it was very strange, but there were indeed 2 7th-order great demons in the demonic Miasma mountain range. At that time, there just happened to be an expert from the imperial family's hall of worship nearby. He entered the demonic Miasma mountain range alone, and almost died there. Only then did he obtain this information. Renyi explained. His tone was filled with seriousness. Leng Shiqi knocked on the armrest of the chair. There was something strange about this matter. No matter how he looked at it, it was definitely not simple. Since I've gotten the information, Your Majesty must have gotten it even earlier. I'm guessing that I'll have to enter the palace for a discussion soon. Renyi, I will take the initiative to go and investigate the beast tide in the demonic miasma mountain range. Xingji Pavilion and Zhenling Manor will need you to take care of them. Hearing this, Renyi was shocked. My lord, you can't. The current demonic miasma mountain range is not only dangerous, it is also like a deep pool whose bottom cannot be seen clearly. This lowly subordinate believes that there is no need for my lord to take the risk. Leng Shiqi shook his head and said, Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Besides, other than me, there will also be others who will take the initiative to go to the miasma mountain range. The beast tide this time is indeed dangerous, but it is also an opportunity. I've already made up my mind. You don't have to persuade me anymore. Your humble servant obeys. Renyi knew that no one could change Leng Shiqi's decision, so he could only obey. As Leng Shiqi expected, he was soon summoned to the palace to discuss the beast tide in the demonic miasma mountain range. Under the double play of Leng Shiqi and the soul doppelganger, he still took the task this time. In order to completely stop the beast tide, the Thunderstorm dynasty would adopt a three-pronged approach. The first one was to immediately summon the Discipline Commission, Dark Thunder Guards, and a large number of city guards in the surrounding counties to support the demon-suppressing town. The second one was to directly mobilize the combat army like last time. As for the third one, it was Leng Shiqi. This time, Leng Shiqi would go to the demonic miasma mountain range with 2 deputy directors and the War Thunder Guards under his command. There were a total of 7 masters in the Oneness of Heaven, more than 40 in the Gang Spirit realm, and hundreds in the Spiritual Aperture realm and Spiritual Pulse realm. In addition, the most powerful combat force was actually not them, but the 2 masters in the Tianyuan realm from the Imperial Hall of Worship. Now there was another master in the demon-suppressing town. Leng Shiqi just learned that the man was the old man he was familiar with. After they destroyed the Thousand Illusion Sword sect in Donglin County, the old man had not returned to the imperial capital. Later, when they passed by the demonic miasma mountain range, they happened to encounter the beast tide outbreak. He took the risk alone with his powerful strength, but who would have thought that he would run into 2 level 7 monsters? In the end, the old man had to pay a hefty price to escape. Fortunately, his injury was not very serious. With him in the demon-suppressing town, nothing serious would happen for a while. In addition, the Thunderstorm dynasty's combat army would also send another master in the Tianyuan realm. This time, a total of 4 masters in the Tianyuan realm would gather in the demonic miasma mountain range. Even if there were 2 level 7 monsters, it was not a big deal. Level 7 monsters' combat strength was very strong, even stronger than most masters who had just entered the Tianyuan realm. However, their weakness was also very obvious. They rarely had powerful spiritual treasures, or were proficient in various secret techniques. 2 of the 4 heavenly origin realm experts from the Thunderblaze dynasty were proficient in formations. As long as they didn't know about the formation beforehand, and with their high-grade spiritual energy and strange secret techniques, it wouldn't be a problem for them to kill the 2 Class 7 demons. In particular, the 2 Level 7 monsters had just transformed and were not yet able to fully control their strength. Therefore, the Thunderstorm dynasty had an overwhelming advantage in terms of peak combat strength. Leng Shiqi's subordinates and the experts gathered from various places were the backbone of the army. Their main targets were the Level 5 and Level 6 monsters. As for the Level 4 monsters, they would be left to the combat army. After Leng Shiqi received the order, he immediately gathered his men and prepared to rush to the demon-suppressing town through the interdomain teleportation formation. However, at this time, there was some movement in the underworld. Someone was using the Netherlamp illusion to contact him, and that person was the Delta Origi. Leng Shiqi knew that the Delta Origi went into seclusion after coming out of the Void Scar sky. It seemed that she had come out. He returned to the study and entered the underworld. At this time, the Delta Origi in the underworld appeared in the form of Yuanyang Mingyu Ghost Emperor. Due to the underworld's upgrade, there was a huge change here. The Delta Origi was looking around. When Leng Shiqi appeared, the Delta Origi said, "I've encountered some trouble." Hearing this, Leng Shiqi's heart moved. He knew that the Delta Origi was a very strong person. Even if she encountered trouble, she would not easily ask for help. The Delta Origi came to Leng Shiqi on her own. This meant that the trouble was not small. Leng Shiqi nodded. The Delta Origi continued. The Cloud Shuttle Monarch's disciple, Yin Xingxing, recently broke through to the unity of heaven and man realm. He kept begging the Cloud Shuttle Monarch to come over and propose marriage. I'm annoyed. Leng Shiqi remembered that he seemed to have seen this person in the void scar sky. It was a white-faced youth. At this moment, killing intent appeared in his heart. It was just a spirit cultivator who had just entered the unity of heaven and man realm. It was not a big deal to assassinate him silently. Thus he said solemnly, "Do you want to kill him?" Chapter 774. Delta Origi paused. She did not expect that Leng Shiqi would want to kill Yin Xingxing directly. She said, "That's not necessary. There is a rumor in the Discipline Commission that Monarch Cloud Shuttle is about to step down from his position as the Grand Commander. Yin Xingxing just wants to use him as his last backer. Moreover, killing the personal disciple of the Discipline Commission's Grand Commander in the Imperial capital is not a small matter. It's enough to teach him a lesson." Leng Shiqi wanted to say that he could do it flawlessly, but on second thought, Yin Xingxing's actions in the Discipline Commission were all above board. He proposed marriage to Delta Origi and then died. The biggest suspect was naturally Delta Origi. Yin Xingxing's head will be put on his head for now, he thought to himself. At this time, Leng Shiqi noticed that Delta Origi's cultivation was already at the 7th level of Gang Spirit Realm. Last time in the Void Scar Sky, Delta Origi's cultivation was still at the 2nd level of Gang Spirit Realm. In less than a year, she had reached the late stage of Gang Spirit Realm. Of course, her cultivation speed was not as fast as Leng Shiqi's, but it was already rare among her peers, even in the whole Falling Star continent. The reason why Delta Origi's cultivation speed was so fast was also greatly related to Leng Shiqi. Last time when they entered the Tomb of Heaven together, Leng Shiqi specially chose the most suitable cultivation comprehension for Delta Origi. Later, Delta Origi joined the underworld and directly received the inheritance of the Ghost Emperors of 5 directions. Her strength increased greatly. When Leng Shiqi became one of the 4 directors, he also gave Delta Origi a lot of cultivation resources. Coupled with Delta Origi's superb cultivation talent, it was not impossible for her to make such progress. However, Leng Shiqi did not say anything about cultivation, because his own realm was a whole realm higher than Delta Origi's. If the Delta Origi were to find out about this, they would most likely be furious. Coincidentally, Leng Shiqi thought of a good idea. He said, "Since it's not a good time to kill him, let's avoid him first. In the past 2 days, there has been a beast tide in the demonic Miasma mountain range. I am gathering people to quell it. I will ask for some people from the Discipline Commission. You will come with me to the demonic Miasma mountain range." Demonic Miasma mountain range. That's fine too. I've stayed in the Imperial capital for too long. It's time for me to go out for a walk. Delta Origi agreed, but she immediately asked, "What if Yin Xingxing goes with them?" "Don't worry." Leng Shiqi smiled gently and said, "I only want spirit cultivators in the Gang Spirit Realm from the Discipline Department. I can't ask for higher or lower realms. As a general manager who has the power to act as the commander, I still have this bit of face. No matter where you are, you will shine. I am not as good as you." Delta Origi said faintly. She did not wait for Leng Shiqi to answer, and removed the underworld lamp illusion. Leng Shiqi touched his nose. Sometimes being too good was also a trouble. After leaving the underworld, Leng Shiqi personally went to the headquarters of the Discipline Commission to meet with Monarch Cloud Shuttle. He explained his intentions. Monarch Cloud Shuttle was very straightforward. Without saying anything, he was willing to lend Leng Shiqi a total of 20 Gang Spirit Realm Masters. One must know that Gang Spirit Realm Masters were not cabbages on the roadside. They were masters who could support second-rate sects outside. Moreover, the masters of the Discipline Commission had always been famous for their fighting strength. They were even better than the War Thunder Guards of the Dark Thunder Guards. In order not to be so obvious, Leng Shiqi personally selected a few people, including Delta Origi and Juga Puha. When he mentioned Delta Origi, Monarch Cloud Shuttle obviously hesitated, but still agreed. Monarch Cloud Shuttle knew that his time as the commander of the Discipline Commission was running out. On the other hand, Leng Shiqi had infinite potential. It was unknown how long he could be in charge of the Dark Thunder Guards in the future. There was no need to make enemies with Leng Shiqi for the sake of his apprentice's personal interests. After this matter was settled, Leng Shiqi returned to the Dark Thunder Guards after some polite greetings. In Xingji Pavilion, thousands of masters were standing in order, waiting for him. Leng Shiqi waved his hand. "Let's go." A group of people walked in the direction of the interdomain transmission formation. On the streets of the imperial capital, all the people who met them consciously made way for them. The outbreak of the beast tide in the demonic Miasma Mountains had been known to the public. The news that Leng Shiqi received the order to suppress the beast tide was also announced. Everyone looked at Leng Shiqi's group with admiration. These Dark Thunder Guards were going to suppress the beast tide to save the people. But the beast tide was dangerous. How many people could come back safely? Therefore, although people hated the Dark Thunder Guards at ordinary times, they still hoped that they could all come back triumphantly at this time. When Leng Shiqi and others came to the interdomain transmission formation, the 20 masters of the Gang Spirit Realm of the Discipline Commission also arrived. The leader was Delta Origi. She stood in the middle of the crowd in a bright red dress. Her jade-white neck was slightly raised, like a proud swan. Leng Shiqi smiled and said, "Miss Blood Moon, Brother Juga, we can fight side by side again." Delta Origi said lightly, "Don't worry. The Discipline Commission won't hold Supervisor Lu back." Juga Puha's eyes were a little strange. He said, "Long time no see, Supervisor Lu." But he secretly transmitted a message. "Brother Lu, I happen to have something to discuss with you." Leng Shiqi knew it was about the Star Tribe. Last time in Shantai County, he helped the Star Tribe release 2 masters of the oneness of heaven and men realm. It seemed that Zhuge Yun was not satisfied with this. He gave a subtle hint with his eyes, and then led the crowd into the transmission formation. As for the other 2 masters of the Tianyuan realm, they had already rushed to the demon-suppressing town in advance for fear of unexpected problems. After several turns, they finally arrived at the demon-suppressing town late at night. Lei Yuanwu, the commander of the city guards of the demon-suppressing town, and 2 deputy commanders came to welcome them in person. The 3 of them bowed and said, "Supervisor Lu." Supervisor Lu and the masters came to the rescue of the demon-suppressing town. "We can see that you care about the people. We admire you." Leng Shiqi looked at the 3 people who bowed. He thought that he had once joined the city guards of the demon-suppressing town in disguise. At that time, he had to look up to these 3 people when he had to go out of the city to suppress the evil beasts. A few years had passed, and Lei Yuanwu was still Lei Yuanwu. But Leng Shiqi was already someone they had to look up to. Leng Shiqi did not put on airs. Lei Yuanwu in front of him was at the same cultivation level as him, the latter stage of the oneness of heaven and men realm. However, Lei Yuanwu was a distant relative of the royal family, and his status was not low. He was most concerned about the current situation of the demonic Miasma mountain range. He waved his hand and said, "Commander Lei, there is no need to be so polite. We are here under orders to protect the demon-suppressing town, and even remove all the hidden dangers in the demonic Miasma mountain range. May I ask what is the situation in the demonic Miasma mountain range now?" Lei Yuanwu straightened up and said, "Supervisor Lu, please come to the meeting hall for a chat. The higher-ups of the demon-suppressing town are waiting for you there." Let's go." However, they had only taken a few steps when there was a series of shocking roars outside the demon-suppressing town. Immediately, several extremely terrifying spiritual auras came one after another. The night sky twisted, as if doomsday had arrived. Chapter 775. Everyone who was walking stopped in their tracks. They looked in the direction of the demonic Miasma mountain range in shock. Who was it that could cause such a terrifying fluctuation? Lung Shiqi opened his eyes and vaguely saw 4 spiritual qi erupting like volcanoes. 2 of them were in the shape of humans, and the other 2 were demonic beasts. He immediately realized that the 2 Sky Origin Stage cultivators from the Imperial Hall of Worship must have encountered the 7th-ranked demonic beasts. At the same time, he couldn't help but feel a little dissatisfied. The 2 of them rashly entered the demonic Miasma Mountains and alerted the enemy. He originally planned to go in himself to find out the situation, and then set up a formation to kill the 7th-ranked demonic beasts with the help of the 4 Sky Origin Stage cultivators. But now his plan was completely disrupted by the 2 of them. He couldn't help cursing. What were the 2 from the Imperial Hall of Worship doing here? At this moment, a bolt of lightning flashed and a man appeared in the sky above them. It was the old man. The old man's face was still a little pale. For a Sky Origin Stage cultivator to have such a pale face, it meant that he was still injured. The old man cursed in front of everyone. 2 brainless bastards. Big brother Old Han, what happened? Lung Shiqi greeted Old Han when he saw him. Brother Lu, you are already here. It's all because of Zhong Zhenliang and Lan Ruo. The old man's face became more and more gloomy. He continued. I told them that the 2 7th-ranked demonic beasts were not easy to deal with. They didn't listen. They thought they had some tricks up their sleeves and still went in. I heard that they were going to set up some inhibition formations. Now it seems that they still alerted the 2 7th-ranked demonic beasts. They are so stupid to have alerted the enemy. Lung Shiqi felt a bit of a headache. Since his plan had failed, it seemed that the only way left was to attack. He asked, Old brother, what's the background of those 2 7th-order great demons? Why did 2 great demons suddenly appear in the demonic Miasma mountain range? This was also what Lung Shiqi was puzzled about. The old man replied, the 2 big demons are the mixed devil sable and the heavenly winged tiger. They were originally rank 6 demonic beasts in the demonic Miasma mountain range for a long time. I don't know when they became rank 7 big demons. However, none of the experts in the demon-subduing citadel had ever sensed the aura of a heavenly tribulation, so no one knew how they advanced. The last time I went in to explore, I was ambushed by the mixed demon sable and the heavenly winged tiger. If it weren't for my thunder technique restraining the demonic beasts and the loss of a trump card, I almost couldn't come back. What bad luck. And Lung Shiqi actually heard about the demon sable from the old man's mouth. He remembered very clearly that it was Nine Leave who had secretly brought him to the spirit spring of the Chaos Demon Black Sable to break through to the spirit vein realm. At that time, he had used all his means to escape, and had almost died at the hands of the old sable. Who would have thought that after a few years, that old mink actually advanced to become a rank 7 great demon? This time, Lung Shiqi had come to kill these 2 7th-order great demons. Speaking of which, it was truly a small world. Since the old man had fought with the mixed demon black sable and the heavenly winged tiger, he must know their strength. Lung Shiqi asked, how powerful are these 2 rank 7 great demons? Do they have any special abilities? Speaking of this, the old man looked serious and said in a heavy tone, it's strange. A few years ago, there was a rank 7 great demon in the demonic Miasma Mountains, and now there are 2 more. Moreover, the mixed demon black sable and the heavenly winged tiger have advanced not long ago. But they are very powerful. If it's one-on-one, I can barely defeat one of them. Lung Shiqi's heart sank. He had seen the old man's strength. The old man was an experienced expert in the Tianyuan realm, and definitely ranked above the middle level. However, this level of expert was only slightly stronger than the mixed demon black sable and the heavenly winged tiger. Even if demonic beasts were born with great strength, they should not be so powerful. There are so many strange things in here. Lung Shiqi thought to himself. He felt that things were much more troublesome than he had imagined when he first came to the demon-suppressing town. Lei Yuanwu, the commander of the city guards, bowed to the old man and said, Shall we rescue the two masters in the hall of worship? Humph. The old man snorted, save my ass. It's good to let them suffer a little. They have been in the hall of worship for a long time, so they don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. But we don't need to worry about their safety. After all, they are in the Tianyuan realm. They won't be in danger so easily. At most, they will be injured. Everyone looked at each other. This old man's heart was quite big. Since he had already said so, no one could say anything else. Leng Shiqi said, since that's the case, we'll listen to elder brother. Those two experts might be able to bring back some useful information. Let's go to the city lord's mansion first. Lei Yuanwu turned around and led everyone into the mayor's mansion. The rest of the people had also settled down. Leng Shiqi and a few of the upper echelons of the Dark Thunder Guards sat in the meeting hall. There were already more than 10 people waiting inside. Sitting at the top was an old man with many age spots on his face. He looked like he could pass out at any moment. Lei Yuanwu introduced. This is the city lord of the demon-suppressing town. City Lord Qi, this is the Dark Thunder Guard's chief steward Lu. Leng Shiqi looked at the City Lord Qi. He knew that the City Lord Qi was called the Old City Lord by the people here, because he had been in this position for 60 to 70 years. During this period of time, the demon-suppressing town had experienced 2 beast tides, and he was the one who took the lead to fight against the demonic beasts, defending the demon-suppressing town time and time again. Therefore, whether it was the residents of the demon-suppressing town, the spirit cultivator, or the officials, they all had great respect for him. Greetings, City Lord Qi. Leng Shiqi cupped his hands. In terms of status, he was far higher than City Lord Qi, but in the demon-suppressing town he could not use his status to suppress others. This old one is unable to move, so I am unable to salute Chief Steward Lu. Please forgive me. City Lord Qi's voice was old and weak. City Lord Qi is too kind. Just now something happened in the Demon Miasma mountain range. Chief Steward Lu came in time. Everyone in the demon-suppressing town will listen to Lord Lu's orders. Just give the order. City Lord Qi's words were equivalent to handing over all the authority in the demon-suppressing town. This was a little out of Leng Shiqi's expectations. However, this was even better. It would save him the trouble of scheming against each other. At this juncture, he did not have the time to do so. He immediately sat beside City Lord Qi and said, Everyone, we have come to the demon-suppressing town to settle the beast tide as soon as possible and protect the peace of the demon-suppressing town. Let's not waste any more time. I need the latest information on the Demon Miasma mountain range. City Lord Qi's eyes moved. He swept his gaze across the upper echelons of the demon-suppressing town. These people immediately started talking at once. Not long later, 2 rays of light suddenly flashed and entered the meeting hall. When the light faded, 2 slightly wretched figures were revealed. They were the experts of the Imperial Family Hall of Consecration, Zhong Zhenliang and Lan Ruo. Leng Shiqi's face darkened. He said coldly, The 2 of you, do you know your crimes? Chapter 776. Zhong Zhenliang and Lan Ruo's already ugly expressions sank again. Their status in the Imperial Hall of Worship of the Thunderflame dynasty was extraordinary. Anyone who saw them would have to be polite. Even Lei Qingjun in the past was like this. It had been a long time since someone dared to talk to them like this. The golden-robed Zhong Zhenliang sneered. You must be Lu Xingji. What a powerful official. Black Flame Heaven's sovereign wouldn't dare to talk like this. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Lan Ruo was a feminine-looking man with a neutral voice. Leng Shiqi didn't hold back at all. I was ordered to kill the demons. All the plans have been arranged. It was all because of your reckless actions that the plan failed. Ruining the Thunderflame dynasty's plan, ruining His Majesty's plan. Even you can't bear the consequences. What nonsense are you spouting? Zhong Zhenliang said angrily. We were just trying to find out the truth of the demonic Miasma mountain range. But in your mouth, it became a reckless action. You really don't know anything. How can you sit in the position of one of the 4 chiefs? Leng Shiqi suddenly stood up with an imposing manner. Impudent. I am one of the 4 great stewards personally appointed by the late emperor. You're questioning the late emperor. How dare you disrespect him? Zhong Zhenliang paused. He didn't expect to be accused like this. He was about to retort when the old man stood in front of Leng Shiqi and said, Zhong Zhenliang, do you really have to go this far? Admit your stupidity. We'll think of another way. There's no point in arguing here. Zhong Zhenliang didn't expect the old man to speak up for Leng Shiqi. Before, no matter how powerful Leng Shiqi was, he was only a young man in the unity of heaven realm. But now, with the old man's support, the weight was completely different. Well said. Suddenly, a strange voice came from outside, and a man in light armor descended from the sky. With us 4 sky origin realm cultivators here, we could have killed the demons with a little preparation. But because of you two, we missed the opportunity. They recognized him as soon as he showed up. He was the commander of the Red Thunder Army, a sky origin stage cultivator, Gu Hutong. What surprised Zhong Zhenliang even more was that Gu Hutong was also on Leng Shiqi's side. Now, not only were he and Lan Rua in the wrong, but they also didn't have the upper hand in the situation. They could only pinch their noses and endure. At this moment, Lan Rua stepped forward and said, Enough. At the end of the day, we all wanted to solve the big problem of the demonic miasma mountain range as soon as possible. However, we didn't expect to be ambushed not long after we entered the mountain range. Brother Zhong and I determined that there is an extremely secretive and complicated formation in the demonic miasma mountain range. The top priority right now is to come up with a countermeasure. The demonic beasts are still wreaking havoc. If we start to panic, it will only cause more innocent people to die tragically in the mouths of the demonic beasts. His words immediately surprised everyone in the hall. The demonic miasma mountain range was filled with demonic beasts, but they had never heard of demonic beasts being able to set up arrays. Everyone felt that there was a mastermind behind this matter. The atmosphere in the hall suddenly became heavy, and the conflict between Leng Shiqi and Zhong Zhenliang was also shifted. Leng Shiqi didn't want internal strife, but as the leader of this great mission, he had to support Zhong Zhenliang and Lan Rua. Otherwise, he didn't know what would happen in the future. Leng Shiqi didn't expect Gu Hutong to appear and speak up for him. The Red Thunder Army would take at least 2 days to arrive, so Gu Hutong must have come early. However, the old man said, Brother, this Gu Hutong is also a member of the elite hall. His seniority is even higher than mine. Hearing this, Leng Shiqi understood. At the same time, the powerful impression of the elite hall was also imprinted in his heart. So far, he had only seen 2 members of the elite hall. One was a superior of the Imperial Hall of Worship, and the other was the commander of the Red Thunder Army. It could be seen that those who could join the elite hall were all extraordinary in status and strength. Leng Shiqi signaled, and immediately someone brought chairs for the several Tianyuan stage cultivators to sit on the high seats. He said, Since it has already happened, it's useless to investigate further. Besides, you two have just fought with the big monsters, so you must know their strength and fighting style better. As the saying goes, know thyself and know thy enemy, and you will never be defeated. Can you tell us more about it? Zhong Zhenliang sat on the seat with a gloomy face, and didn't mean to speak. Lan Rua thought for a moment, then she could only say, The 2 7th-rank big monsters are the Demon Sable and the Heavenly Winged Tiger. The Demon Sable is very insidious. It never fights with us directly. Its demon chi is very strange. It is not only very corrosive, but also can disturb part of the chi of heaven and earth. Brother Zhong and I were ambushed by the demon chi, and could only use about 80% of our strength. Also, the Heavenly Winged Tiger was very agile, and could communicate with the power of the stars and moon. Under the cover of the demon chi, it was impossible to guard against. I'm ashamed, Brother Zhong and I were at a disadvantage from the beginning. In the end, we had to break through the demon chi to get out of the battlefield. Zhong Zhenliang, who didn't want to speak, added, There are 2 other suspicious points. First, the demon chi of the 2 7th-rank big monsters is very thick. It doesn't seem like they just advanced. It seems like they have at least hundreds of years of power. Secondly, there are traces of a formation in the demonic miasma mountain range. Although the formation was deliberately hidden, Lan Rua and I are both formation masters, so we can sense it. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been ambushed by them. After the two finished speaking, the meeting hall fell into silence. From the current information, the demon sable and the heavenly winged tiger's strength far exceeded everyone's expectations. More importantly, since there was a formation hidden in the demonic miasma mountain range, it meant that there was a mysterious spirit cultivator hiding in there. This meant that the beast-tide outbreak in the demonic miasma mountain range was man-made. Humans were always more difficult to deal with than beasts. Also, if there was someone who could secretly control two 7th-rank big monsters, then this person had to be at least in the Sky Yuan stage. It seemed like the current battle strength was not enough. Leng Shiqi frowned. He had only been in the demon-suppressing city for less than an hour, but things were getting more and more unexpected. After a while he stood up and said, City Lord Qi, General Gu, and all the experts, the demonic miasma mountain range is far more dangerous than we thought. What's more terrifying is the mysterious power behind it. I am not talented, but I need to guard the demon-suppressing city. And I will personally go to the demonic miasma mountain range. When he said this, it attracted all kinds of strange gazes. Some did not believe him, some were suspicious, some were disdainful, and some thought he was crazy. Including the old man, there were already 3 Sky Yuan stage cultivators who were defeated. Leng Shiqi, who was in the Unity of Heaven and Man stage, still wanted to enter the demonic miasma mountain range. Was he crazy? Chapter 777. The old man turned around and advised, Brother, the demonic miasma mountain range is a dangerous place now. I know you are very powerful, but the demon sable and the heavenly winged tiger have already been alerted. If you go in recklessly, you might be in danger. Thank you for your reminder. Leng Shiqi cupped his fist and said, I am a person who cherishes my life. I won't do anything that will kill me. I decided to enter the demonic miasma mountain range because I am confident and confident. Besides, I won't provoke the 2 7th-rank monsters. I just want to find out who is hiding behind them. Compared to the 7th-rank monsters, this is what worries me more. In that case, you must be careful. You need to take charge of the situation here. Take this to protect yourself. The old man said as he handed over a token engraved with thunder runes. Leng Shiqi didn't refuse. When the token was in his hand, he could feel the terrifying power of thunder contained in it. I made this when I was free. Once it is activated, it can release endless thunder, which is equivalent to one of my attacks, the old man explained. The others heard and immediately looked at him with envy. This thing was equivalent to a one-time heaven origin stage. It could be said that no one in the unity of heaven and man realm could survive it. Leng Shiqi knew how precious this thing was, especially since he didn't have a deep relationship with the old man. He said, I will remember your kindness. After I leave, I will ask you and City Lord Qi to arrange everything in the demon-suppressing town. The old man felt something was wrong. He said in surprise, You mean you want to enter the demonic miasma mountain range now? Yes. No, the demon sable and the heavenly winged tiger have just been alerted. They are on high alert now. It is too dangerous. Leng Shiqi smiled. Because of this, I think the demon sable and the heavenly winged tiger won't think anyone dares to enter the demonic miasma mountain range now. It will increase my chances of hiding. Fine, whatever you say makes sense. I can't win against you. The old man shook his head and sighed. Leng Shiqi turned around and saluted Gu Hutong, who had just spoken up for him. General Gu, please forgive me for not being able to give you a welcome dinner. Gu Hutong laughed. Haha, what's there to welcome? I see that Brother Lu is really brave and has a heroic spirit. If you are tired of staying in the Dark Thunder Guards in the future, you are welcome to join my Crimson Thunder Army. When I have time, I will definitely pay a visit to Marshal Gu. Everyone, I will be back soon. With that, Leng Shiqi turned into a phantom and disappeared from the meeting hall. Zhong Zhenliang transmitted to Lan Rua. He said we were impulsive, and he doesn't know what's good for him. I think he won't be coming back. Brother Zhong, you've been in seclusion all year round, so you might not have heard much about this Lu Xingji. This lad has created miracles time and time again, and even contradicted Six Directions' spirit supremacy. Isn't he still alive and well? This person cannot be underestimated. If he can bring back information, I will acknowledge him. But if he goes in and doesn't find anything, he might just be playing to the gallery. At that time, don't blame me for not giving him face. Zhong Zhenliang was still a little unconvinced. After all, Leng Shiqi had scolded them in front of their faces, which was a total loss of face. Lan Ruo was also a little helpless. Although they were of noble status and stood among the strong, in the end, they were still dependent on the Thunderblaze dynasty. Leng Shiqi was in the limelight, and was also a popular person by His Majesty's side. In the future, his achievements might not be lower than theirs, so there was no need for them to be so hostile. After Leng Shiqi left, he left the demon-suppressing town with a ghostly speed, and came to the edge of the Miasma mountain range. Standing here, Leng Shiqi felt a strange aura. He had entered the Miasma mountain range 3 times in the past. The Miasma mountain range was so named because of the miasma everywhere. But now, Leng Shiqi found that there were a few more types of energy in the miasma. Sure enough, there's something strange, Leng Shiqi thought. He was not in a hurry to enter the Miasma mountain range. Instead, he raised his finger and summoned a small insect. It was the Gu King. The Gu King had advanced to the 6th level. Since Leng Shiqi became one of the 4 great chiefs, he had gathered countless resources. Of course, these resources would not be wasted. Especially when he was in seclusion, he always prepared a large amount of resources for the Gu King and the 4-legged metal-swallowing beast. Now, these 2 pets had successfully advanced to the 6th level. It was a pity that his 2 pets were not battle type. The 4-legged metal-swallowing beast could not be used for anything other than treasure hunting. Fortunately, the Gu King's ability to conceal itself had become stronger after its advancement. It also had the ability to divide itself. Its body could split into many small Gu worms, which had many wonderful uses. The Gu King landed on Leng Shiqi's shoulder and breathed out a faint mist. Leng Shiqi's aura was immediately covered. Even a Sky Origin stage expert would not be able to sense him. Then he made a few seals on himself. His figure became fainter and fainter until it disappeared. Thus, Leng Shiqi went deep into the demonic Miasma mountain range. When he arrived at the periphery of the demonic Miasma mountain range, he quickly discovered that there were not many demonic beasts in the periphery. Perhaps some of them had already died at the hands of the spirit cultivators in the demon-suppressing city. He did not stay in the periphery for long, and went straight into the inner area. As soon as he entered the inner area, Leng Shiqi's footsteps paused. The miasma in the inner area was much higher than the outer area. However, this amount of miasma posed no threat to Leng Shiqi. In fact, the miasma could not even get close to his body. However, Leng Shiqi did something strange. He actually opened his mouth and inhaled a large mouthful of miasma. When the miasma entered his body, Leng Shiqi did not deliberately block it. Instead, he allowed the miasma to flow through his body. He closed his eyes slightly, as if he was sensing something. This was because after he entered the inner area, his sea of consciousness became somewhat restless. The sky of his sea of consciousness flashed with green light, which looked extremely demonic. Leng Shiqi knew very well that the green light was demonic power. When he first condensed the spiritual fantasy world, 9 Leaves' heavenly demonic soul crystal had been integrated into the spiritual fantasy world. Therefore, Leng Shiqi's body had always been hiding some demonic power. Now that he was deep in the demonic Miasma mountain range, such an unforeseen event had occurred in his sea of consciousness. This meant that the demonic power in the miasma here was far stronger than it was a few years ago. Therefore, Leng Shiqi stopped and took the initiative to absorb some of the miasma. When the miasma entered his body, it immediately triggered his demonic power. Leng Shiqi's heart stirred and continued to absorb the miasma. After more than an hour, his eyes had a bit of green light, and his body had automatically activated the wild demonic blood beast body. However, unlike before, his current state was more beast-like. He looked ferocious and terrifying, like a ferocious beast. He felt his current state and seemed to have thought of something. He had already vaguely guessed why the Chaos Demon Black Marten and the Star Moon Heavenly Winged Tiger were so strong. However, at this moment, a voice suddenly sounded. A half-demon. Chapter 778. Leng Shiqi was startled when he heard the voice nearby. He discovered that although he had concealed his presence, he had absorbed a large amount of demonic aura and revealed himself. When he heard the words half-demon, various thoughts flashed through his mind. He had heard of half-demons before. Half-demons were the offspring of a human and a demon. Under normal circumstances, a demonic beast that could do this must be a 7th-rank great demonic beast, or even more powerful. But this was only a possibility. High-level great demons had a very low chance of producing offspring. This was the price of being born with great power. It was extremely difficult for them to produce offspring. Not to mention a human and demon union. The probability was so small that it was almost negligible. Of course, there was still a sliver of a possibility. It was a half-demon. Half-demons that had both human and demon bloodlines were seen as anomalies. Both humans and demon beasts felt that half-demons were extremely lowly. So even if a half-demon appeared, they would have been killed long ago. Thus, the number of half-demons on the Starfall continent was probably even less than rank 7 great demons. Leng Shiqi's current appearance was very similar to the legendary half-demon. He had a human body but had 4 arms and a tail. He was emitting dense demonic aura and spirit force. No matter how one looked at him, he was a half-demon. Who is it? Leng Shiqi sensed that there was a rank 6 demon beast not far from him. However, he still shouted in alarm. A strange demon beast walked out of the miasma. It had 4 limbs on the ground, and its back was arched like a shrimp. There were sharp spikes that were half a meter long on its back. Its body was covered in a pale green liquid. As it walked, a drop of viscous liquid flowed behind it. Wherever the liquid touched, large areas of the ground would be corroded. Leng Shiqi immediately recognized this demon beast, Ridgeback Venom Beast. The Ridgeback Venom Beast stared at Leng Shiqi with its cold vertical pupils and spoke in human language. You really are a half-demon, no wonder the formation didn't detect your aura. A rank 6 half-demon? It seems your bloodline isn't low. Greed flashed in the Venom Ridgeback Beast's eyes as it spoke. Leng Shiqi changed his tone and said coldly, I don't care who you are. Watch your mouth. The Ridgeback Venom Beast immediately revealed a sinister killing intent. You're courting death. Immediately, the venom around its body swirled and condensed into sharp blades that pierced straight at Suke. Each of the sharp blades tore through the miasma, producing ear-piercing sounds. The rare poison elemental spiritual energy in the world was all mobilized, forming a large poisonous cloud in the surroundings. Leng Shiqi quickly formed a seal with his arms behind his back. Suddenly, a demonic wind rose from all directions, whistling through the air. Even if the Venom Ridgeback Beast held a grudge, it did not dare to show it in front of him. After a long time, the Venom Ridgeback Beast brought Leng Shiqi to a dilapidated place. It was full of potholes and devastation, as if it had been bombed by countless bombs. In fact, it was almost the same, because this was the place where Nine Leaves self-destructed. When Leng Shiqi came here, he clearly felt the aura of many 6th-rank monsters locking onto him. Roughly speaking, there were no less than 20 of them. When did the demonic Miasma mountain range have so many 6th-rank monsters? Leng Shiqi was surprised, but on second thought, if 2 7th-rank monsters could be born at the same time, it was not surprising that there were more 6th-rank monsters. The Venom Ridgeback Beast let out a strange roar, and then the miasma in the sky stirred violently, revealing a huge tiger head. The tiger head stared at Leng Shiqi without any emotion. A 6th-rank half-monster that can suppress little Ridgeback is really rare. Tell me your origin. If there is a single lie, your soul will be destroyed. Leng Shiqi raised his head and said in a neither servile nor overbearing tone. My name is Xieqiua, a half-monster that has been hiding in the shadows for decades. Recently, I heard that the demonic Miasma mountain range's strength has increased greatly and caused a beast tide. And there are even 7th-rank monsters guarding it, so I came to join you. Xieqiua, the tiger head said. No one can prove what you said. How can I believe you? Leng Shiqi smiled. Very simple. I am willing to become a pawn of the demonic miasma mountain range and break the gate of monster suppressing city. Chapter 779. Hearing this, the tiger head in midair suddenly laughed. His soft laughter caused the miasma within a radius of dozens of miles to riot wildly. You think you can break into the banishing demon town? Do you know that there are 3 sky origin stage cultivators in the town of monsters? What a joke. I can't believe a little half-beast could be so arrogant. It is a miracle that you are still alive. Fine, I will send you on your way. Suddenly, the sky above the demonic miasma mountains was filled with stars. The moon was high up in the sky. Even through the thick miasma, the moon could be seen clearly. At the same time, a powerful force came down from the sky. The ridgeback venom beast had already moved far away. It thought, what an ungrateful half-beast. How dare you piss off the demon ancestor? You deserve it. However, Leng Shiqi did not change his expression. He continued, because I am a half-beast, I can enter the banishing demon town. With that said, Leng Shiqi's body changed as he dispelled the wild demon blood beast physique. However, he did not show his true form. He turned into a big, rough man. Only his eyes still had some green light spots. Everything else was the same as a normal human being. The tiger head's laughter came to an abrupt end, and the power of the stars and moon in the sky also paused. The pair of lantern-sized tiger eyes flashed with an inexplicable light. After a while, the tiger head spat out a beam of light. It turned into a door in front of Leng Shiqi. The tiger head said, "Come in." Leng Shiqi knew that he was valuable enough to impress the tiger head. He took a deep breath and stepped into the door. He was ready to face the 2 7th-rank beasts. Meanwhile, the venom beast on the ridge beast's back widened its eyes in disbelief. It had never seen a demonic beast that could get close to 2 demonic beasts. Even a 6th-rank beast like it did not have the right to do that. But now, a half-demon enjoyed such treatment. At the same time that it was shocked, boundless jealousy and resentment arose in its heart. So what if you are powerful? You are still a half-beast with an impure bloodline. Just wait and see. If Leng Shiqi were to use his wild demon blood beast form anywhere else, he would most likely be recognized. After all, information about him was gradually spreading. However, the demonic beasts of the demonic miasma mountain range had never left this place in their entire lives, so they had never heard of him before. Therefore, it was impossible for them to recognize him based on this. When Leng Shiqi stepped through the door of light, he was already in another space. The area here wasn't very large. He could sense that it was only about 100 miles in radius. However, most of the area was isolated from his perception. There must be restrictions protecting it. This thought flashed through Leng Shiqi's mind. He had never heard of another space in the depths of the demonic miasma mountain range. Otherwise 9leaf would have mentioned it long ago. Furthermore, the demonic beasts would definitely not set up such exquisite formations and restrictions. From the scene in front of him, he could already confirm that there were still spirit cultivators here. Brat, watch your eyes. At this moment, a brawny man walked over. This man was bare-chested, and there was a crescent moon on his forehead. There was a mysterious star pattern engraved on his body, which was somewhat similar to the one on Leng Shiqi's body. Seeing this strong man, Leng Shiqi knew that this person must be the level 7 great demonic beast, the heavenly moon-winged tiger. However, Leng Shiqi had seen many heavenly origin realm experts, and had even killed one with his own hands, so he was not afraid at all. The heavenly moon-winged tiger walked to Leng Shiqi and said condescendingly, "I am the demonic beast ancestor of the demonic miasma mountain range. Explain what you just said clearly. If you can satisfy this demonic beast ancestor, this demonic beast ancestor will have a way to help you advance to level 7. But if you don't, you know what will happen to you." Leng Shiqi did not answer directly. Instead, he pretended to ponder. At the same time, he was also observing his surroundings because there should be another demon sable, but it did not appear. He said, "Demonic ancestor Star Moon, I am a half-demon. I can show my demonic aura, and also show my human form. I have lived among the humans for decades, and am proficient in the art of concealing my aura. Therefore, I can even enter the demon-suppressing town openly and collect information for the demon race. Just collecting information is not enough. This sentence did not come from the heavenly winged tiger, but from behind Leng Shiqi. Leng Shiqi turned around and saw a stooped old man walking over. This person's face was extremely ugly, especially his pair of hooked eyes that were filled with a sinister look. At a glance, one could tell that he was not a good person. He thought to himself, the Chaos Demon Black Marten has finally appeared. Who is this ancestor? Leng Shiqi bowed. I am the Chaos Demon ancestor of the demonic Miasma Mountain Range. Your origin is unknown. If you want to survive in the demonic Miasma Mountain Range, you must show some sincerity. The Chaos Demon Black Marten's voice sounded very sinister, like the sound of bones rubbing against each other. Leng Shiqi smiled. To demon race, since I am here, I can't come empty-handed. In fact, I have been hiding in the demon-suppressing town for some time. I know all the information in the town. The heavenly winged tiger's expression changed and immediately asked, tell us. The Chaos Demon Black Marten frowned slightly. It felt that the heavenly winged tiger was too anxious and lost the initiative. However, they had been holed up in the demonic Miasma Mountain Range, and knew almost nothing about the demon-suppressing town. Therefore, they also wanted to know the specific situation inside. Leng Shiqi answered, as far as I know, the Thunderfire dynasty sent one of the 4 Dark Thunder Guards, Lu Xingji, to the demonic Miasma Mountain Range. This person's cultivation is only at the late stage of the unity of heaven and man realm, but he is favored by the Thunderfire dynasty emperor. He also brought many experts from the Dark Thunder Guards. The strongest among them is the Sky Origin Realm expert from the Imperial Hall of Worship. He dares to come to the demonic Miasma Mountain Range when he is only at the late stage of the unity of heaven and man realm. He is courting death. The heavenly winged tiger sneered. The Chaos Demon Black Marten asked, we have fought with the 3 Sky Origin Realm experts from the Imperial Hall of Worship. Only the one who can control lightning is stronger. As for the other 2, they are just average. This information is still not enough. Leng Shiqi smiled mysteriously. To demon race, don't be anxious. The most important thing is that Lu Xingji is not on good terms with the 2 Sky Origin Realm experts who barged in not long ago. The 2 of them disobeyed orders and barged into the demonic Miasma Mountain Range. When they returned, they refused to accept Lu Xingji, a junior commander. They have been quarreling for a long time. As long as the 2 of you are willing to lend me a hand, I am confident that I can sow discord and make them fight among themselves. The heavenly winged tiger and the Chaos Demon Black Marten fell silent. Leng Shiqi could see that they were tempted. The Chaos Demon Black Marten's eyes flashed and asked suspiciously, how did you know about such a secret? To be honest, I have been living in the demon-suppressing town. This town is close to the demonic Miasma Mountain Range, and there are many of my race who come and go, so I am more or less exposed to the demonic Miasma Mountain Range. I made use of this environment to hide my true identity. After a long time, I set up many methods and spies. That's how I got this information. Leng Shiqi explained. As long as the 2 of you can lend me something, I can make the experts in the demon-suppressing town kill each other. This way there is nothing to be afraid of. If this is successful, the 2 of you can even lead my race to attack the demon-suppressing town, and show off my race's might. If you fail, I will be the only one exposed. To the 2 of you, the demonic Miasma Mountain Range will not suffer any losses. The Chaos Demon Black Marten thought about it carefully, and felt that this matter was beneficial. The only thing it was worried about was what it would have to pay. What do you want to borrow? Leng Shiqi's killing intent flashed and said, a rank 6 demonic core. Chapter 780. How dare you? The heavenly winged tiger was furious. Leng Shiqi dared to mention the monster core in front of 2 rank 7 monsters. He had crossed the line. The mixed devil sable reacted differently. Instead of being angry, it was confused. A rank 6 monster core can make several Sky Origin stage cultivators, and that Majordomo kill each other? Are you toying with us? How dare I? Leng Shiqi explained. I have a secret technique that can plant a monster core into a human's body and cause them to mutate. They will look like half demons, but they will only last for a short period of time before they explode and die. I have used this skill to escape from being hunted down many times. I am going to use it on Lu Xingji. Hey, the 4 majordomo who came to kill the monsters was a half-monster. I don't think I need to tell you what will happen to him. Besides, Lu Xingji has a good relationship with one of the Sky Origin Stage cultivators. The Sky Origin Stage cultivator will probably protect him. In this way, there will be internal strife. But Lu Xingji is one of the 4 majordomo of the Dark Thunder Guards. He must have powerful guards. Besides, there are 3 Sky Origin Stage cultivators in the city. I am afraid you can't even get close to him. The mixed devil sable still had some doubts. Leng Shiqi smiled mysteriously. I have my ways. As long as you can lend me a rank 6 monster core, I will wait for your good news. He didn't continue to explain in detail. It was better for him to keep a certain degree of mystery. As expected, the heavenly winged tiger immediately changed its expression and smiled. It seems that you are quite capable. Your idea is good. We can have a try. We don't have a rank 6 monster core. But it doesn't matter. I can kill 1 monster for you. It was furious because of the monster core, but now it didn't care about the monster core at all. As if the rank 6 monsters under its command were just tools. Leng Shiqi said. I think the venom-ridged beast is very suitable. Easy. After saying that, the heavenly winged tiger suddenly disappeared. After a few breaths, it reappeared. Its right hand was covered with sticky green blood, and there was a huge 6th rank monster pill lying in it. Seeing this, Leng Shiqi's eyes narrowed slightly. The monster core of the spine poison beast was taken away in just a few seconds. How fast was the heavenly winged star tiger? A smile appeared on his face. He accepted the beast pellet and said, Don't worry. In a few days, the demon suppression city will be in chaos. When that happens, how you want to deal with the city will be up to you. Ha ha ha, good. I'll be waiting for your good news. The heavenly winged tiger laughed. He raised one hand, and a portal appeared behind the Leng Shiqi. Leng Shiqi cupped his hands and turned to leave. When he left the sealed space, a thin layer of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. It was impossible for him not to be nervous when facing 2 Class 7 great demons. Fortunately, he had the identity of a half-demon. Otherwise, even if he had the underworld as a life-saving trump card, his life would be in danger. His trip this time was not in vain. Although it was a short time, he confirmed that there were still mysterious spirit cultivators hidden in the demon miasma mountain range. He could also tell that the 2 great demons of the 7th step were also very afraid of the demon suppressing city. However, Leng Shiqi had not guessed why the demon miasma mountain range would take the initiative to stir up trouble. The current demon miasma mountain range looked very powerful. On the surface, there were 2 Class 7 great demons and a hidden force behind them. In addition, there were many high-level demonic beasts and countless low-level demonic beasts. This force was comparable to a top sect like the Bloodcloak Pavilion. But even so, it was still not enough in front of the Thunderblaze dynasty. For example, this time, Leng Shiqi had failed to eliminate the demons. Even if the demon suppression city was destroyed, so what? Next, it would only attract more experts. Sooner or later, the demon miasma mountain range would be defeated. Regarding this point, the chaos demon Black Martin must have seen through it. But why did it still do it? What was their real purpose in doing this? This was what Leng Shiqi wanted to know the most, and what he was most worried about. He could also feel that the chaos demon Black Martin and the starry heavenly winged tiger did not trust him at all. The reason why they let him go and gave him the demonic core was because they wanted to try their luck. Anyway, they had nothing to lose. And only by doing this could Leng Shiqi truly integrate into the demon miasma mountain range. And only then could he further investigate their real purpose. At the same time, what he agreed to was an opportunity to deal with the demon miasma mountain range. When Leng Shiqi left, the starry heavenly winged tiger in the sealed space stopped smiling. Its face was full of shrewdness, and it was not as easily affected by emotions as before. He said in a deep voice, Old Martin, Can this half-demon be trusted? The chaos demon Black Martin did not seem to like the title of Old Martin. He said snappily, "Nonsense, of course not. Don't forget, as a half-demon, he still has half of the human bloodline. Naturally, he might be on the side of the human race. Who knows, he might be someone sent by the demon-suppressing city to investigate." "Then why did you ask me to let him in?" The starry heavenly winged tiger curled its lips. "Humph. Only by letting him in and giving him some useful information can we know what he's going to do next. Only then can we see which side he's on." Saying that, the demon-mixed demon Black Martin laughed sinisterly. "If he really wants to join us and make a mess of the demon-suppressing town, we can also take the opportunity to attack the demon-suppressing town and let the Thunder Flame Imperial Dynasty and all the spirit cultivator in the world know of the rise of my spirit demon clan. Also, after using that method to refine a half-demon with such strength, we can have another fighting force that is not weaker than you and me. Of course, it's a fighting force that is under our control." "Good old Martin, you're really scheming." The starry heavenly winged tiger laughed. The chaos demon Black Martin said angrily, "How many times have I told you, don't call me old Martin? TSK, back then when that beautiful scorpion called you that, I didn't see you so angry." The chaos demon Old Martin's face suddenly became extremely gloomy. The starry heavenly winged tiger moved its feet and disappeared. Not long after, Lung Shiqi on the other side had already arrived at the edge of the demon miasma mountain range at an extremely fast speed. Under the activation of the supercilious eyes, he discovered that many experts had appeared on the city walls of the demon-suppressing city. Most of them were spirit cultivators from the Dark Thunder Guards, and there was also someone he was extremely familiar with. At this time, on the city walls of the demon-suppressing city, a beautiful figure stood alone, looking in the direction of the demon miasma mountain range. Suddenly, a cool breeze blew past, and a trace of surprise flashed across her eyes, but she immediately felt more at ease. She knew that Lung Shiqi had returned. After Lung Shiqi returned, he immediately gathered all the higher-ups. Before he could explain why he returned so quickly, he said, "Everyone, we need to put on a show next." Chapter 781. 2 days later, a dense demonic aura suddenly rose in demon-suppressing city. The appearance of this demonic chi was very sudden, causing the people in the city to turn pale with fright. Could it be a demonic beast from the demonic miasma mountain range? Soon after, a monster covered in green venom dashed towards the city gate. Everything in its path was corroded by the venom. It was a terrifying sight. "Demon. I didn't expect you to be a spy from the demonic miasma mountain range." 2 shouts resounded through the clouds. Then 2 dozens of meters tall Dharma images appeared. One was a majestic water god, and the other was a palace made up of layers of arrays. When the 2 Dharma images appeared, the air in the entire demon-suppressing city froze under the boundless pressure. The towering palace swayed slightly, and an invisible force crushed down, causing the monster's escaping speed to plummet. Deep water's image formed a seal, and the heavenly river descended. The waves reversed, and a torrential rain began to fall within dozens of miles. The huge waves swept over, and the endless yuan qi of heaven and earth was about to kill the monster. However, at this moment, there was an explosion in the sky. Black clouds covered the sky and lightning flashed. There was a terrifying beast hidden in the clouds. Deep Water's image raised his head and said, "Old man, you want to stop us?" A figure appeared above the majestic palace. It was Zhongzhenliang. He said even more impolitely, "This person is actually a half-demon. He has been hiding in the Thunderflame dynasty for so long without being discovered. Now he has finally revealed his weakness. Those who are not of our race must have a different heart. I think the change in the demonic miasma mountain range is related to him. He must die. You and I are both from the Imperial Hall of Worship. Naturally, we have to be loyal to the dynasty. If you insist on protecting him, don't blame us for not showing mercy." In the sky, the lightning condensed into an image. It was the old man. He said awkwardly, "Although he is a half-demon, so what? Humans are divided into good and evil. You don't understand him. I can guarantee that he is absolutely loyal to the Thunderflame dynasty. There is no way he is related to the demonic Miasma mountain range. Enough, Zhong Zhenliang said angrily. I would rather kill the wrong person than let him go. At most, I will take all the blame. Get out of my way. The old man seemed to be enraged as well. He's my brother. If you want to kill him, you'll have to step over my dead body first. Good brother. Let me see how you're going to stop the two of us. As soon as Zhong Zhenliang finished speaking, several different colored formations appeared in the sky. He had actually set up several formations with a wave of his hand. The formation fell, immediately blocking the monster and the old man. Lan Rua sighed softly and said, Now that things have come to this, don't blame me. Brother Zhong, delay the old man. I will go and kill that monster. Who dares? The old man roared. Thunderclouds rolled as a lightning beast leaped out of the clouds towards Lan Rua. The old man himself charged towards Zhong Zhenliang. A battle between Heaven Origin Stage cultivators suddenly broke out in the town of monsters. This made the spirit cultivator and the residents of the city feel as if the sky was collapsing. As the saying goes, when immortals fight, mortals suffer. Fortunately, Zhong Zhenliang's array formation not only trapped the old man and the monster, but also blocked the shockwaves from their battle within the array formation, allowing many spirit cultivators to be safe and sound. However, they didn't dare to let their guard down and frantically retreated. They were also puzzled. Why would their own experts fight among themselves when everything was fine and dandy? From the conversation of the 3 Heaven Origin Stage cultivators, it seemed to be related to a half-demon. Most of them had lived in the town of monsters for a long time, and naturally knew of the existence of half-demons. And this half-demon's identity seemed to be extraordinary. Some wanted to kill, some wanted to protect, so they started fighting. They didn't have the mood to gossip. They were most concerned about their own safety. You cultivators who came to suppress the demons started fighting among yourselves. Who would go and suppress the demons? What if another beast tide happened at this time? What would they do? Of course, they didn't know that everything they saw was arranged by Lung Shiqi. That monster was none other than Lung Shiqi. He had refined the venomous spine beast's beast core, and turned it into his beast essence battle runes. Hence, he had gained a part of the venomous spine beast's image and abilities. He arranged the show for the demon sable and the heavenly winged tiger in the demonic Miasma mountains. Otherwise, the 2 7th-rank monsters wouldn't believe him and wouldn't do anything. The reason why Lung Shiqi chose this day was that the Red Thunder Army would enter the town of monsters the next day. So far, the existence of Gu Hutong was a secret. He came to the town of monsters after Zhong Zhenliang and Lan Rua. Except for the higher-ups, no one knew that he was here. Moreover, if the Red Thunder Army entered the town of monsters, so many people would definitely be noticed by the demonic Miasma mountains. By then, the town of monsters might be in chaos for a while. However, with the Red Thunder Army guarding the town of monsters, the demonic Miasma mountains wouldn't dare to invade. At this moment, on a piece of land not far from the town of monsters, several earthbind rats crawled out. Some of them were at the 3rd level, while some were at the 4th level. At the same time, several bird-type monsters were hovering in the sky. They were all paying attention to what was happening in the town of monsters. Squeak, squeak. These monsters talked with each other for a while. Then several flying monsters flew to the depths of the demonic Miasma mountains. Soon, the demon sable and the heavenly winged tiger got the news that the town of monsters was in chaos. In fact, they didn't need those low-level monsters to report. Even if they were deep in the center of the demonic Miasma mountains, they could sense the powerful origin energy fluctuations in the town of monsters. They are really fighting, the heavenly winged tiger murmured. Then it turned around and asked, should we take the opportunity to attack the town of monsters? The demon sable's expression changed. It was still trying to judge whether it was true or not. I can't see anything yet. They might be doing it on purpose. Let's wait for a while. Then it changed its meaning. But we should gather all the clans and get ready to attack the town of monsters at any time. Okay, I'll do it now. The heavenly winged tiger was about to leave, but a slender figure suddenly appeared. The person said in a sharp voice. I've only been away for a while, and you two are ready to attack the town of monsters? Who gave you the confidence? Who gave you the right to do it? The demon sable and the heavenly winged tiger were both shocked when the person showed up. Deep fear flashed in their eyes. The demon sable smiled. Mr. Zhou, you're back so soon. That thing must have gone well. A trace of displeasure flashed across the face of the man called Mr. Zhou. Don't ask about my business. Just do your own thing. You have to remember that it was me who helped you reach the 7th level. You even have the power beyond the Sky Origin stage. But since I can give you power, I can take it back. It turned out that this person was the one behind the scenes. Chapter 782. A flattering smile bloomed on the mixed demon sable's face. Mr. Zhou is right, very right. The star moon heavenly winged tiger was even more obedient. Mr. Zhou looked at them with disdain, as if the two 7th-rank beasts were trash in his eyes. Tell me what happened in the past few days. Mr. Zhou said condescendingly. The mixed demon sable immediately told him about Leng Shiqi's appearance and promise. Mr. Zhou's eyes flashed. The appearance of this half-demon is too strange, but there is an internal conflict in the demon-suppressing city. Interesting. The star moon heavenly winged tiger asked tentatively. Should we attack the demon-suppressing town? Of course he and the mink wanted to. Only by doing so could the demonic miasma mountain range shock the Thunderfire dynasty, and even the falling star continent. Only by doing so could they achieve their goal. As for how they would bear the fury of the Thunderfire dynasty after attacking the demon-suppressing town, that would depend on Mr. Zhou. That was why they were flattering Mr. Zhou so much. Don't worry. Mr. Zhou was even more cautious than the mink. There are 3 Sky Origin Realm cultivators in the demon-suppressing town. It seems to be a big fight, but there are no casualties. You are all 7th-rank beasts. That little fight won't affect your battle power much. So, we can't rule out the possibility that they are acting. Their goal is to lure you away from the demonic miasma mountain range. The mink and the star moon heavenly winged tiger's heart sank. They were able to force back the masters of the Imperial Hall of Worship twice, because of the formation in the demonic miasma mountain range. Also, their power would increase in this formation. Once they left the demonic miasma mountain range, they would lose this formation. Their overall power would drop by 10 to 20%. Don't underestimate this 10 to 20%. In a battle between Sky Origin Realm cultivators, the slightest difference would be magnified infinitely. Mr. Zhou, you mean? Wait. Mr. Zhou said with certainty. Since that half-beast has the ability to cause an internal conflict in the demon-suppressing town, let me see how chaotic it can be. Unless the 3 Sky Origin Realm cultivators are really angry, we can't act rashly. Mr. Zhou, you are very thoughtful. We are ashamed of our inferiority. Unknowingly, the 2 7th-order dire monsters had turned into bootlickers as well. At the same time, Zhong Zhenliang, Lan Rua, and the old man were still fighting in the demon-suppressing city. They glanced at Leng Shiqi. They were hinting to Leng Shiqi if this was enough. 2 nights ago, Leng Shiqi and the others had already discussed it. They couldn't really kill each other as soon as they arrived. At most, it would be considered a sparring session. However, if this still did not attract the demonic miasma mountain range's attack, then he would have to use his true strength. Leng Shiqi secretly opened the system map, and found that a large number of monsters in the demonic miasma mountain range were indeed gathering, but they did not seem to be attacking. He narrowed his eyes and nodded lightly. The old man and the other 2 immediately understood what he meant. After that, the enormous lightning beast behind the old man suddenly vanished, and it condensed into a lightning spear that flickered for 500 kilometers. Black clouds rolled, as if the sky was about to collapse. It actually looked like a heavenly tribulation. Lan Rua's original body and the water god's illusion merged into one, and the figure was covered in a layer of gorgeous armor. Immediately, huge waves surged, and the demon-suppressing city was instantly submerged, turning into an underwater city. Zhong Zhenliang, like the thousand-hand Guanyin, released countless spells. In an instant, hundreds of formations appeared in the sky and on the ground. These formations were trapping formations, sealing Leng Shiqi and the old man in all directions. There were also illusion formations, layers of illusions constantly corroding their minds. If they made a mistake, they would be at the mercy of others. There were also endless killing formations. The slightest bit of carelessness would result in a tragic death. The 3 Sky Origin stage rankers had finally taken out their trump cards. And when such a destructive power exploded out, the first to suffer was the demon-suppressing realm, and the many-spirit cultivator S. When the huge waves came crashing down, the demon-suppressing city immediately suffered countless casualties. Screams, cries, and sounds of fear filled the entire city. Not only that, even the sturdy city wall, which had been reinforced countless times, collapsed with a loud bang. The demon-suppressing city was broken. The funny thing was, it was actually broken by the Thunder Flame Dynasty's cultivators. When Leng Shiqi saw the hellish demon-suppressing city, he couldn't help but admire Zhongzhen Liang and Lan Ruo. That's right, admiration. Because everything he saw at this moment was both real and fake. The collapse of the city walls was real, but the people who died were fake. Actually, when Lan Ruo used her full strength, he activated the formation that took more than a day to set up, and moved all the spirit cultivators out of the demon-suppressing city. As for what Leng Shiqi saw, it was actually the scene displayed by Zhongzhen Liang's illusion formation. Not only the scene, even the expressions of these people, their fear and the smell of blood were exactly the same as the real thing. Under the hands of 2 Sky Origin stage cultivators who were proficient in formations, they were actually able to do such a thing. As expected, those who could cultivate to the Sky Origin stage were not simple. In the sky, the Water God, the Thunder Spear Blade and the Boundless Formation finally collided. At this moment, Leng Shiqi only felt that the earth was shaking, and the heaven and earth origin energy within a radius of hundreds of miles was like boiling water. Waves of amazing spiritual chi spread out. In the blink of an eye, the sky darkened and the space twisted. Boom, boom, boom. Under the aftermath, the demon-suppressing city was broken into pieces. Especially Leng Shiqi, who was so close, even a spirit gang realm cultivator would be directly crushed by the spiritual pressure. Even Leng Shiqi felt a little difficult to breathe. But what he cared about the most was not this, but what would the demonic Miasma mountain range do? Mr. Zhou and the other 2 who were still in the center of the demonic Miasma mountain range were still waiting. At this time, a roar came, and even hundreds of miles away, a large number of low-level demonic beasts panicked. Feeling this aura, the 3 of them looked at each other in surprise. The Star Moon Heavenly Winged Tiger said unbelievably, "I'm afraid they have done their best. They seem to be serious." The demon Sable didn't speak. He kept looking at Mr. Zhou, but his eyes were full of eagerness. Obviously, he intended to attack the demon-suppressing city. But the final decision was still in Mr. Zhou's hands. Mr. Zhou raised his eyes and looked into the distance. His eyes were a little empty, as if he could see what was happening hundreds of miles away. The demon-suppressing city is broken. He said these 3 words. What? Really? The demon Sable and the Star Moon Heavenly Winged Tiger asked one after another. It was not difficult for them to break the city wall of the demon-suppressing city. But the point was, once they showed up, the Sky Origin stage cultivators would naturally deal with them, so they didn't have time to break the city wall. But if other high-level demonic beasts attacked the city wall, they would suffer a great loss. The city wall had always been a big worry for them. Now that the city wall was broken, who could stop their army of demonic beasts? Mr. Zhou suddenly smiled sinisterly. It seems that we are lucky this time. Order to attack the demon-suppressing city. Chapter 783. Roar, roar, roar. The demons in the demonic Miasma mountain range roared. Countless demons immediately rushed towards the demon-suppressing town with red eyes. The Star and Moon Heavenly Winged Tiger and the demon Sable clenched their fists tightly. How many years had it been? These demons were like fish on the chopping board, like livestock in a cage, at the mercy of the spirit cultivators. Every year, countless demons died in the hands of spirit cultivators. If not for the low-level demon's strong reproductive ability, the demonic miasma mountain range would have been slaughtered long ago. As a result, all the demons in the demonic miasma mountain range were filled with endless hatred for humans. This hatred had been accumulated for countless years. Today, the demon-suppressing town had been broken, and they had to repay the humans. With their blood, with their flesh and blood, the demon beast army rushed towards the demon-suppressing town. Leng Shiqi immediately captured the movement through the system map. He laughed in his heart. Success! He was not afraid of the demon beast army, but he was afraid that the other party would not make a move. Although the walls of the demon-suppressing town had collapsed and the city was almost destroyed, it was only an empty city. The Thunderfire dynasty could easily rebuild it. As long as the demon beasts were lured out of the demonic miasma mountain range, it was equivalent to losing the protection and amplification of the mysterious array. And the demon-suppressing town was Leng Shiqi's home ground. He transmitted to the old man and the other two. The fish has taken the bait, act according to the plan. Following that, the old man and the other two attacked even more fiercely. However, the old man was gradually unable to withstand the two of them. In helplessness, he could only take the monster Leng Shiqi and escape. A bolt of lightning flashed across the sky. Zhong Zhenliang and Lan Rua immediately shouted, "Don't go!" The two of them chased after them, leaving behind the ruins of the demon-suppressing town. Not long after, the demon beast army arrived and drove straight in. The star and moon heavenly winged tiger had a pair of wings on its back. It was shining with starlight, and the shadow of the moon was heavy. He took the lead and rushed into the demon-suppressing town. In his eyes, the demon-suppressing town was already a river of blood. Only a few spirit cultivators who were lucky enough to survive were still wailing. A figure suddenly appeared in front of him. It was Xie Qiyue, who promised to cause internal strife in the demon-suppressing town. Xie Qiyue laughed and said, "What do you think, Star Moon Great Ancestor? I didn't go back on my word, did I? We took over the demon-suppressing city effortlessly." The Star Lunar Heavenly Winged Tiger smiled at first, but somehow, its heart skipped a beat. It had a bad feeling. The mixed Devil Black Sable was one step slower. Chapter 784. The last sentence made the old man and the others fearful. They were sure that there was a mysterious force behind the demonic miasma mountain range, but they didn't know how strong it was. Looking at the demon sable now, it wasn't weak. "Mr. Zhou, please show yourself. Since the three of them showed up, we can kill them all together," the demon sable said to the air proudly. The old man and the others became nervous. Judging from the demon sable's tone, the Mr. Zhou he mentioned must be very powerful. Otherwise, the demon sable wouldn't be so confident. A difficult battle was in front of them. One breath passed. The old man looked around vigilantly. Lightning flashed in his eyes, but he didn't find anyone. 2 breaths passed. The Star Moon Heavenly Winged Tiger also sneered. "Mr. Zhou is not someone you can discover." 5 breaths. The so-called Mr. Zhou didn't show up. The old man and the others became more and more nervous. They were afraid that the mysterious expert would hide and give them a fatal blow. But after 10 breaths, the sky was still empty. The Heavenly Winged Tiger's sneer stiffened. The demon sable's heart skipped a beat. What's going on? Where's Mr. Zhou? It was as if a cold wind blew. The scene was a bit awkward. Whoosh! The old man flicked his spear, and the divine thunder of annihilation raged endlessly. As the weather changed, an indomitable purple thunder pillar suddenly stood up. Soon after, bursts of lightning exploded from the lightning pillar. The sound of lightning clashing could be heard everywhere. It was so loud that it could pierce one's eardrums. Lan Rua's water god illusion was raised high in the air. It was as if a mysterious vase was looming. Black water surged out and turned into a black sea in an instant. It was enough to drown everything. Zhong Zhenliang said disdainfully, "What, Mr. Zhou? 7th rank demon? He's being used as a spear, but he doesn't know. How funny." These people were all smart. They immediately saw that the power behind the demon sable didn't dare to show up. Maybe Mr. Zhou didn't want to show up, maybe he didn't have the confidence to take down the old man and the others, or maybe he was afraid of the Thunder Yen dynasty. Anyway, he didn't make a move. The reason why the demonic Miasma mountain range dared to infuriate the Thunderblaze dynasty was because they considered Mr. Zhou as their backer. Otherwise, they wouldn't have dared to attack the demon-suppressing city. Unfortunately, they were tricked by Leng Shiqi and Mr. Zhou twice in one day. He had been tricked. The demon chi of mixed devils surged up and condensed into the shadow of an ancient demon lord. Stars were spinning around the heavenly winged tiger, and the demon moon was hanging high in the sky. The two 7th-ranked demons seemed to be going all out. It was 2 against 3, and they were in the enemy's formation. If they didn't go all out, they might really die here today. Xie Qiyue, who was also the Leng Shiqi, had already activated his wild, desolate, evil demon blood beast body. He stood not far behind the demon sable and the star and moon heavenly winged tiger, as if he was about to welcome the attack of the spirit cultivator. At this moment, Gu Hutong's voice entered his ears. Head Steward Liu, should I make a move? Gu Hutong was hiding in the dark. He was one of the trump cards of the Leng Shiqi. Previously, no one in the demonic Miasma mountain range knew that he had come to the demon-suppressing city. If he suddenly made a move during the battle, it was enough to deal a fatal blow to the 2 demons. However, Leng Shiqi said, General Gu, you don't have to make a move. What he was afraid of now was not the demon sable and the star and moon heavenly winged tiger, but the Mr. Zhou that they had mentioned just now. Since Mr. Zhou did not appear, Gu Hutong could not appear either. Otherwise, his trump card would be exposed to the enemy in advance, which would only be bad. It was not difficult to destroy the rebellion in the demonic Miasma mountain range. The real difficulty was to get rid of the mastermind behind it. Although it was difficult for the 3 of them to kill the demon sable and the star and moon heavenly winged tiger, as long as they could kill one this time, the demonic Miasma mountain range would collapse. The only thing left was for the demon-suppressing city to counterattack the demonic Miasma mountain range. Therefore, not only Gu Hutong, but also himself could not be exposed. In the sky, the battle between the 3 sky origin stage cultivators and the 2 rank 7 demons had already begun. However, in order to not affect their own people, they flew directly to the 9th heaven, so Leng Shiqi could not see the specific situation. However, from the constantly changing sky and earth, the intensity of the battle was much stronger than the previous internal battle. That was the battlefield between the strong. And the battlefield below was even more tragic. Other than the 2 rank 7 demons, there were more than a dozen rank 6 demons in the demonic Miasma mountain range. There were many rank 4 and rank 5 demons. As for the low-level demons, there were simply too many to count. The demon-suppressing city's spirit cultivators of the 4 realms of heaven were barely equal. After all, Leng Shiqi had brought many experts over, but there were still thousands of low-level demons, which was also a huge problem. As the saying goes, ants can kill an elephant. Moreover, the low-level demons were all thick-skinned and could pose a huge threat to the spirit cultivators. A few rank 6 demons in the demonic Miasma mountain range were overjoyed. Ha ha ha, children, they are few in number, we can bite them to death. Kill. All the demons rushed towards the spirit cultivators like hungry tigers pouncing on sheep. More than 10 people immediately walked out from the crowd. All of them were great experts of the unity of heaven realm. The strange thing was, there was one person sitting in the middle of them. It was an old man with 1 foot in the grave, but his eyes were filled with a cold light. This person was City Lord Qi of the demon-suppressing city. Back then, when Leng Shiqi proposed to self-destruct the demon-suppressing city, City Lord Qi did not agree to it. In the end, he did not have a better idea, so he agreed. City Lord Qi had guarded the demon-suppressing city for decades, and hated the demon beasts to the bones. He used a very soft but cold voice to say, borrowing the words of the old mixed demon sable, "Don't be too self-righteous." Just as he finished speaking, he heard a buzzing sound, and several colorful transmission arrays suddenly appeared. Following that, a dense group of spirit cultivators walked out from within. These spirit cultivators were all wearing armor. Their footsteps were neat and tidy, their fighting spirit soaring to the sky. Large flags fluttered in the wind, with the words, Scarlet Thunder Army. This was one of the strongest armies of the Thunderfire dynasty, the Scarlet Thunder Army. Behind the Scarlet Thunder Army, there were also a large number of spirit cultivators, and these people were the demon hunters who used to live in the demon-suppressing city. They did not escape, but chose to stay and hunt the demon hunters. Tens of thousands of spirit cultivators appeared out of thin air and surrounded all the demon beasts. All the demon beasts that had gained intelligence finally understood what despair was. Previous chapter, next chapter, boom. At this time, a monster that was neither human nor demon punched a spirit cultivator who was at the Unity of Heaven realm and shouted, I am Xie. Even if I die here today, I will drag a few humans down with me for the demon miasma mountain range. Before he could finish his sentence, a total of 6 Unity of Heaven realm cultivators surrounded him, but Xie was not afraid. This action immediately provoked all the demon beasts, and the rank 6 demon beasts in the lead roared towards the sky. For the demon miasma mountain range kill. A great battle between humans and demons had begun. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.